Good morning, Copers. It is Tuesday, January 6th. Good morning. How you guys doing? Um, Feeling okay today. I don't know why I was so stuffy. I'm still a little stuffy, but it's weird. I feel fine, so hopefully I'm not sneezing and blowing my nose like I was yesterday. That was really out of nowhere. How are you guys doing? There was something I meant to talk about this yesterday when I was kind of like all the stuff that happened over break. I was talking about these movies and games I played. There was something I forgot to talk about that I remembered last night, which is that I listened to the audiobook for The International Jew by Henry Ford. Or maybe not by Henry Ford. It's mostly written by another guy in Henry Ford's newspaper. What's funny is I've seen people, I think it was Indie Woods. Okay. He gave me a link to Flood's like audiobook collection on Mega Upload. And it's got all this stuff in there, like kind of like a lot of stuff you would expect, I don't know, Culture of Critique, I think is in there. I forget all what's in there. I haven't looked at it in a couple weeks.
Cat Respecter sent $5.
Thank you, Cat Respecter, for the $5. Oh, I haven't set up the bidet yet. Yeah, maybe today. Maybe I'll do that today. I've always been interested in Henry Ford's work because he is like one of the most successful capitalists in history. You know what I mean? Like he's a very like his name's on the car I drive. This is a very serious man. You can say the same thing about Hitler and Mein Kampf, which I have read. But actually, if you say Hitler wasn't a kook, that's actually like controversial with a lot of crowds. But to say Henry Ford wasn't a kook is kind of like seems like self-evident, right? So anyway, I'm listening to this audiobook of The International Jew. Well, it's actually like a collection of articles from his newspaper, but regardless. And it's kind of like there wasn't really like anything like really that surprising or interesting. He's talking about the Jewish question, and it's like nothing I haven't heard before. It's everything, it's he's talking about Jewish behavior and the way Jews are like self-interested and tribalistic, and it's kind of like they're very successful, and how do you explain their success and stuff like that. It wasn't really anything new until he got to the protocols of the learned elders of Zion, which is another thing that I have never really. That's like another rabbit hole I never went down, because it's one of those things where nobody really knows who wrote the protocols. Some people say it's like a Jewish plan for world domination. And then other people say it's a hoax that was just like written to like frame the Jews or just be like a viral troll of the time or whatever. And nobody actually knows. Nobody knows who wrote it. So I'm always like, well, why bother wasting your time on something like that where you're never really going to know the truth? But Henry Ford, yes, thank you, Ked's Dead, for the $3. Henry Ford thought it was worth going over the protocols. And so they go over in this series. And something I found really interesting is they're talking in the protocols now. They're talking about how they just throw all these different ideas and ideologies at people, at the Gentiles, like at Goy society.
Area Lubermensch sent $5. Hey guy, I did join your locals but didn't hear from you. So I ended up just keeping the Indian on payroll. I'm all set there now. Thanks.
That was the question. Should you let an Indian work for you? Okay. Yeah, no worries, man. I did mention that yesterday because I went into locals a couple days ago and I couldn't figure out where the messaging was, but I'm glad it's working out, assuming it is. So they're talking about how like all these ideologies like libertarianism and liberal, and it's all just meant to like cause chaos and basically confuse people and drive them away from just sort of their intuitive, traditional like tribalism and just like their tradition, basically, to just kind of break up people, especially liberalism. And what's funny is the guy, whoever wrote the protocols, he's like laughing about how they use the term progress. He's like, yeah, we're just going to call it progress. We're going to call everything that like drives Gentiles away from their traditions. We're going to label that as progress, which will make them like less likely to criticize it or be against it. And he's like laughing about this. And I thought this is like really interesting because that's like the whole concept of you can't stop progress was like, taking that obviously this isn't progress. And it's like hearing that was interesting. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I don't know if like floods, I don't know if I'm allowed to share the link to the audiobook library. I don't know. Maybe IndieWoods knows. I would assume you are. It's just like a mega uploads page, but I don't know. I don't know the etiquette. I don't know if it's kosher for me to like post, but maybe I'll tweet it out if I'm allowed to. I don't know if IndieWoods knows or if Flood is watching. Somebody let me know. Because there's some other books in there I plan to listen to. Moving on, we're gonna go over the Steve Laws interview that went kind of viral over the last week.
$3 Clav may have been mogged, but there is something far worse. Mogging. I bust way bigger nuts than any of you in chat. Get mogged.
Not mogging? What? Oh, I think I know what that word was. Okay. Thank you, the Nutter. As always, a pleasure. So, Steve Laws gets invited to talk to this guy, Andrew Gold, who I had never heard of before this, but like one look at this guy and I have him instantly pegged. I think it was piss and gum. So gross. Thank you, the Nutter. Thank you for that. What do you think of Silver Rising? Dude, I don't care. I do not care. It's not a finance show. Okay. God, I can't look at the chat, man. It's too distracting. It's just stupid. You guys say such stupid things. And then I get angry. Then I'm like, why did I look at the chat? I want to know if you play. I did play Civ 2. It was good. I played every Civ. I played Alpha Centauri. I played Pirates Gold. Which is an awesome game, and I never understood why they never did like a remake of Pirates Gold. It's like one of the original like roguelikes. Man, now I just want to play Pirates Gold. That was such a fun game. You got to remake that. Oh, because it is stupid. It's stupid. Why are you asking me that? Fuck you. Shut up. Okay. So anyway, I'm sorry. It's fine. I'm sorry. I'm in a bad mood for no particular reason. It's just distracting. I'm sorry. That's me. That's my bad. Laws looks like Skinny Pete. Andrew Gold looks like a white Chad. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Dog Respecter, for telling us what we can all see with our eyes.
Ked's dad sent $3. I bought
maybe I need another vacation.
2021, I think, due to LP's financial advice. I do not regret.
Did you really, or is that a joke? Because I was shilling that back in the day, but I was doing that because I was paid to, for the record. Okay. You know what? I'm minimizing. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to hear you people. I don't want to know that you exist right now. Can't do it. Andrew Gold is really good looking and Steve Laws is not really good looking. Cool, man. You know what? Fuck the white race. I love Jews now. Thank you, dog respecter. You're right. Jews up, goys down. Oh my God. Anyway, it was easy to peg this guy right away. He's like another Konstantin Kissin. Apparently he's former BBC, and he was ousted from the BBC for being heretical, for being like anti-woke or politically incorrect or what. I don't know what the exact reason was, but he's one of these guys, right? He's one of these guys of like, oh, the woke mob can't handle me. I'm too much of a truth teller, so I'm going to go out and start my own podcast. And then it's like, I'm going to bring on this racist guy and mog him and talk about why, and like do the calm intellectual voice and dismantle racism and explain why this is like all bad and awful. And why, you know, I hate all the problems in society as much as the next person, but I would never, ever, 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 ever flip the fix everything easily switch. One of those kinds of guys. Konstantin Kissin, basically. If you know who Konstantin, or however, whatever his name, Constant? What the fuck is that guy's name even? Constant. What is that? Constant Kissin. Is it? No, it's Constantine. Whatever. It's one of those guys. I can't talk today. Anyway, let's watch the interview. Let's see how it goes.
Are you a racist?
Steve,
That makes me racist, so be it. I'll wear a
$3 LPs at chat. We're official back boys.
Okay, hold on. Before we start the video, I just remembered something. Look at this title. I confront Britain's biggest racist, and the word racist is censored. That's a note. You can't even just type the word racist in your title. So this is like, now as you know, I recently put out a video called Why I'm a Racist, and I didn't censor the word, and the video was fully monetized. It did better than like any video I've published in like over 6 months for views, so it wasn't like throttled.
Sent $3. I was ousted by the BBC because I came to hard and disgraced all the BBCs in the room. You can't be a wank with little meat and little nut energy.
So long story short, you can say racist, and so this alone should kind of signal to you, right? Andrew Gold, he's trying to be like, I'm the guy who gets it. I'm the rational one. I'm the one who understands what the problems are and how to fix it. But this just right here shows a kind of cowardly, irrational, paranoia, delusional fear of social media censorship that doesn't actually exist. And so he's self-censoring where he doesn't have to, right? Social media censorship is real, and there's real reasons to self-censor. But he's like over-censoring out of like a kind of a delusional cowardice. So that already, just right out the gate, just looking at the title of this video, if you're actually intelligent, and you know, that should signal to you like, oh, this guy's kind of like that's already a red flag. You know, it wouldn't necessarily be disqualifying. A lot of people do this delusional shit on social media, but it should make you think like, oh, why is this guy like scared to just type a word? The stigma around this word is so crazy. But I mean, you can just say racist. You don't have to censor it. That's the thing. The fact that he's scared to like say this word, this is the guy This guy's a coward. This is your guy you're going to like take your cues from, your intellectual cues. He's literally scared to like write a word. So what else might be true that he might be scared to say out of fear of censorship? You feel me? Because when it comes to like self-censoring on social media, what I just mentioned, it's more, you have to self-censor, but it's more how you say things. It's not what you say. You can say just about anything if you word it correctly. So you don't have to like self-censor your ideas or your beliefs, really. I don't. But maybe you don't say things in the most like extreme, edgy way possible. That's what I was getting at, right? But a guy who's scared to just type a word, he might censor things he actually believes are true because you don't know what he's going to censor because he's paranoid and delusional. That you can glean all of that about this guy just from reading this title of the YouTube video.
Proudly. I've had enough. I want everyone.
And then it starts off with this scare thing about, so you're a racist. And Steve, why is this fucking, what the fuck, man? Dude. And Steve Lawson's like, yeah, I'm racist. And it's got like the like scary, ooh. It's Piers Morgan all over again. Piers Morgan talking to Nick Fuentes and being like, oh, so you're a racist. Would you say? And Nick's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And Piers Morgan, I was like, there it is, everyone. There it is. I win. Debate over. These guys are so out of touch with what people really think. Nobody actually cares about this. Are you a racist?
If that makes me racist, so be it. I wear it proudly. I've had enough. I want everyone gone.
So someone's going to come knock on my door.
It's not personal. It's necessary.
That will not work.
To find out who would have to be removed, the easiest way to do this is medical records.
This is mental.
I don't believe you're European. I think you're Jewish.
But I'm not going to Israel.
Yeah, if I had power, mate, you would be.
You shake your leg and get aggressive when we talk about Jews being European. I'm not shaking my leg and just giving you...
I just have a twitch.
The twitch only comes up when Jews are mentioned. We can move on to another topic if you want to.
I can envision millions of people being thrown onto planes and deported from my country.
I think Tommy Robinson will fight against that.
Tommy Robinson will do, because he's a traitor. Tommy Robinson has loads of foreign friends. He promotes multiculturalism. He's a Zionist piece of shit.
Do you have any room in your mind for that you might be wrong?
No.
See, that's the sign of an ideologue.
Ooh, an ideologue.
Can you do me a favour? If you get value...
An ideologue. Ooh, dirty word. That made me think of something I saw this morning. I was going to show you guys later, but we're going to talk about the Carl Benjamin Sargon response, which I haven't listened to, so I don't have an opinion on it yet. But somebody... Dudes, okay, I think it's this one here. This guy said, why don't you invite Steve onto your show? That way you can have a conversation on the Steve Laws questions straight from the source. And somebody posted this like really old screenshot. Man, I don't know if you guys can read that because it's like so... This is like a super old YouTube comment. Hello, dear Sargon of Akkad. Can you please do a video on the Kalergi plan, please? Sincerely, a viewer from Switzerland. Sargon of Akkad.
Heads Dead sent $3. Please watch this at the 14 minutes mark. JFG abides by your theory about dead internet.
You've got to be kidding me. You think I'm just going to derail my show for $3? You're lucky I don't ban you, Kids Dead. I'm not in the mood for this shit. Shut up. I'm not watching your stupid link. I'm trying to talk here. God. Sargon says, Rob T. What if you want? You can send a video chat for $20. Okay, stop being a cheap. Just send the video chat then and timestamp it. Send the timestamp on Power Chat for $20, and then you get 1 minute. Hey, can you derail the show for $3? God, I still have a fucking hate speech warning on my account because of you, Ked's Dead. You're on thin ice. Sargon says, Rob T, your race will die off. I am part of the white genocide. Deal with it by unsubscribing and finding channels that give a fuck. Collectivist. The collectivist part is like what makes this so funny. And why that guy's saying ideologue, you know, these are like these scare words for the rational mind. If you have a rational mind, there's certain things that are like really bad. Ideologue, collectivist.
Take some 国部を When are you gonna make another rap song? Haha. Happy Tuesday, LP.
Thank you for the $10. I don't think I'm ever going to do. I think my rapping days are behind me. Your race will die off. I'm part of the white genocide. Deal with it, collectivist. It's such a like time capsule. But you know, say what you want about Sargon, but he was dragged like kicking and screaming, at least a lot more reasonably towards the right, which I don't think we're ever going to get that out of a guy like Andrew Gold or Constantine.
You from these conversations, hit subscribe.
I've never done this before, but I've taken a leaf out of Elon Musk's book and included several notes throughout this episode to clarify moments that are inaccurate.
The classic. I gotta fact check you after the conversation.
Or misleading. Podcast interviews are a unique and engaging way to bring important societal issues into the public conversation, but they lack real-time fact-checking. That means mistakes can slip through, including some I made here. Like me, many of my viewers are rightly concerned about the state of the country and its lack of direction and identity. My guiding principle, however, remains the same. I judge people on the content of their character, not their immutable characteristics, no matter how tempting it may be, particularly in dark times, to do otherwise. I thought carefully about my own role in platforming Steve Laws, because I believe some of his ideas are dangerous. As with many ideologues, much of what he says sounds reasonable, which can make the fallacies underpinning his conclusions difficult to spot in real time. Still, this is heretics, and it's my belief that bad ideas don't die in the dark, they die in the light. With that spirit in mind, and knowing that racists will likely be out in force in the comments, I asked...
Dog Respector, I'm about to ban you, you fucking faggot. You homosexual fucking faggot. Why don't you go jerk off? God damn. You know what, Dog Respector? I can't do it. I already warned you once. You know what? I'm just going to give you a 24-hour timeout. I'm going to go gentle on you, but you're being a fucking gay faggot and you need to shut up because it's gross. The whole looks maxing thing, you guys are fucking gay. Stop being so fucking gay. God. I have to read this shit. I have to look over and read it and see some guy drooling over another man, drooling over a Jew, talking about what a fucking Chad he looks like.
Ked's Dad sent $20. If all Indians were like this, I might be okay with it. BTW, this is not the video I originally sent.
Okay. That wasn't worth $20. I'm raising the price. No, I'm just joking. Now I'm mad because you didn't send the video, and now I have to go see what the heck JF was saying.
Absolutely correct. Like, a bot may actually have more insight if controlled by a quality AI like Grok. You might actually get more from a bot than the average human being on this planet. Microsoft is so stupid. Microsoft renamed...
Was that it, or did I miss it?
A very specific type of liberal circles. That's all you'll become because you don't interface with reality anymore. There's not even a news to be made about your statement. Back in the days, Sam Harris could break the internet on a weekly basis. Ked's Dad says even the bots aren't really bots. The dark truth is most of the world imitates bots online. The nuns. This is the myth of you. The bots aren't even real bots. The real bots are the humans. The 80 IQ humans. Those are the bots.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely correct.
Yeah, like I posted that the Cope video, the new theme song on the Hypocrite channel, right? And there was a comment on there. Somebody commented today, AI slop. And that was the comment. He said, he typed AI slop and then he hit send. And I looked at that and I thought, dude, what the fuck are you doing? I banned him for saying that, by the way. I'm just not in the mood for idiots. Like, I banned that guy because, first of all, everybody knows it's AI. Nobody thought that was like hand animated or something. But also, beyond that, it took like hours and hours and hours of, by the way, Mr. Bliss Chilling, shout out, his time to make that. He didn't go to Grok and say, hey, Grok, make me a Daily Cope music video, and then Grok spat that. It doesn't work like that. It's like Emily Yukis doesn't go to Grok and say, make a new episode of the Will Stansel show, and then it spits out a funny 15-minute. Like, it doesn't, it's like actually like hours and hours of work to make that from a human. It's a human's time put in to make that. Whereas you typing AI slop is not, it's like low effort. Nobody wants to see it. It's noise. It's not signal, it's noise. We all fucking know it's AI, you stupid retard. You didn't invent the concept of calling it slop. Like, you couldn't possibly be less interesting if you tried. Your comment couldn't possibly be more of a waste of time unless you just made it longer. Does no one get, like, you fuck you, man. Shut up, people. Here's a challenge for today, okay? Here's what we're gonna do. Before you say something, ask yourself, does anybody give a fuck? Okay? Just run it through that filter before you put it out. Is that too much to ask?
That you contribute, even if you don't usually, especially if you don't usually. Comment on this one, because I want to know what you actually think. Steve Laws, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, buddy. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome to be here. It's good to have this conversation. And let's start with, I suppose, who are you? You were recently on Liam Tuff's podcast, good friend of mine, where you had this debate, which we'll sort of get into those things. And on it, he said, you know, are you a racist? And you said you don't shy away from that term. So can we just start with, are you a racist?
If you want to call me a racist, it really doesn't bother me in the slightest. My priority is putting my people first. If that makes me racist, then so be it. I'll wear it proudly. That's my position. I wouldn't go around and say, hi, Andrew, I'm Steve the racist. That's not how I'd introduce myself. I would just say, I put my people first. I'm a nationalist, and I love my people, and I want to protect their future. So if that makes me racist, so be it. I wear it proudly.
In that sense, you're probably the most prominent racist in the country, the biggest racist in the UK.
Well, nationalist is the term I would use. I wouldn't introduce myself as racist. But yes, I would argue that probably one of the largest nationalist accounts in the UK. Not civic nationalist, but real nationalist.
Okay, so that's something that we'll have to explain, because a lot of the audience will know what all of that means, but a lot won't be in with, you know, the ins and outs. There's kind of a civil war almost on the right. I don't even know if it's a civil war going on between, what is it? You can explain civil nationalism and ethno-nationalism. What are these terms? So
ethno-nationalism is nationalism. There is only one form of nationalism. Civic nationalism is some absurd mixed direction that's been taken away. It's realistically, civic nationalists are liberals that do not like Islam. And that's pretty much their position. A lot of civic nationalists think that anyone can be British. They think that you come over, you're born here, you're British.
For UK context, that's a really good definition of civic nationalist. A liberal who doesn't like Islam. That's pretty much tells you everything that you would actually need to know about what civic nationalists believe.
position, and they think
And even that might almost be going too far. Because they still would like they wouldn't ever take it as far as like we should ban mosques. You know what I mean? They wouldn't actually like want to get rid of Islam. They just like they just use their anti-Islam. They just like to talk about Islamic terror and like grooming gang type shit to like rile up their base for donations. Basically, that's what a civic nationalist is. They would never suggest anything that would even fix the Islam problem, much less any of the other problems.
it's okay. Whereas a nationalist, my position is that England belongs to the English. This is our land.
Sent
And we should
$20 PPL may not like this, but this is what a real wank looks like. Sorry, Clav. I am drunk BTW, that's why so many chats.
It's like winning. I don't know, man. I was banging 7-gram rocks and finishing them because that's how I roll. I have one speed, I have one gear. Go. Because I'm me, I'm different. I just have a different constitution, I have a different brain, I have a different heart, I have a different, I get tiger blood, man. I'm too smart to blink, and I cured my brain. That's epic. The run I was on made Sinatra, Flynn, Jagger, Richards, all of them just look like, droopy-eyed, armless children. I expose people to magic. I expose them to something they're never otherwise going to see in their boring, normal lives. And I gave that to them.
Blood.
I may forget about them tomorrow, but they'll live with that memory for the rest of their lives, and that's a gift.
Be intelligent. Thank you, Ked's Dead, for the now $43 and counting. Keep drinking.
protect our future. Our people on the
My
verge of
advice is to keep drinking.
LP フラット has made it clear through food time that all of HIS works has posted on Mega to be shared freely. Of course HE would appreciate credit. So many have omitted that part. Go for it. From HIS mods.
You can't understand anything that voice says. I gotta get Vampire Frog to get rid of that. I say this every time, and then people are like, no, it's funny. You literally can't understand what it's saying. But, okay, well, I'll tweet it out or something. I'll tweet it out after the show. Otherwise, everybody's just going to go listen to the International Jew right now. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on X, the Everything app, and then I'll share the link.
becoming a demographic minority in our own homelands. That's unacceptable. And my line is total remigration.
The nose fat issue is but HE isn't sure how to define British. Fat a lunatic.
What a lunatic. Thank you for the $5. It's way too much, that accent.
So civic, I suppose, is about the country. That's what it means. It's like it's a nationalism.
Yeah, Ken, that's a good point. Why are you drunk at 10 a.m. Pacific? Why are you drunk, dude? That's not a good sign. You know what? I take it back. Stop drinking, dude. Go to bed or something.
That just is and of itself. It's just nationalism. And then you're saying it's just nationalism, but then those who are like me would say yours is ethno-nationalism because it is dependent on one's ethnicity.
But that is nationalism. It's based on a nation state which is built upon ethnicities. So on that stage, yes, basically to simplify, the civic nationalist approach is about...
This is kind of just a rehash of the Liam Tufts thing, but so you guys already know I agree with Steve Laws on all of this stuff.
Okay. Whereas ours is about ethnicity.
And I fully endorse and support calling yourself a nationalist and not calling yourself an ethno-nationalist like he's doing. Like I totally think he's doing this absolutely correctly, because doing it that way opens up this opportunity to explain to people the etymology of a nation, of the language, and how that's been subverted over time. If you just call yourself an ethno-nationalist, it's like you're accepting their perversion of the language. Whereas if you just call yourself a nationalist, it's like you're using the language the way it's actually meant to be used. So you should absolutely do it that way. Of course, I call myself a Christian nationalist. But I would never call myself a Christian white nationalist or a Christian ethno-nationalist unless prompted to, because that's redundant. The white part is redundant. The ethno part is redundant.
People and our blood and our people.
What is an ethnicity exactly? It's not quite a race or a culture, is it?
No, it's sort of in between. So an ethnic group are a distinct group of people that have been formed over a various amount of time. So the English are a distinct ethnic group, the Scottish are a distinct ethnic group, the Welsh are a distinct ethnic group, and so forth. And these people are the owners of this land. We've created this land. Our people have built this country. They've put blood and soil into this. And the future of our people is England. And without England, without the English, there is no England. So ultimately, the ethnic groups have the ultimate hierarchy on the country. So England, the English are white people, but we are English by ethnicity. So not all white people are English, but all English people are white.
Not all white people are English, but all English people are white. Okay, I see what you're saying. Of English ethnicity then, how do we boil that down? What do you do with kind of Saxons, Anglo-Saxons, Celts, all of those kinds of things?
So this is an argument that leftists.
Thank you, Rabid Goy. Yeah, here we go with the, well, there is no such thing as an English person, really, because they're just collections of Celtic tribes or whatever.
Would always, and civic nationalists would always present to you and they'll say, well, what about this small admixture of, let's have a look at the world map. This is the world map. This tiny little circle in the middle is where our people were formed from the Germanic sphere. And we built this land over 1,000 years. Nobody would say that the Maori are not indigenous to New Zealand, but everyone would say that the English are not indigenous to England, even though we've been in this land longer.
I would say the English are indigenous to England.
But overall, from a leftist argument, that's what they would say.
The left would say that.
Yeah.
So I think that's where civic nationalists like me would have some sympathy with. It's not just about Islam. You know, I think there's some sympathy with this idea of like, hey, come on, there's no magic soil. The people who built this incredible culture, which we've got here, the best culture in the world that we've built, were built by a bunch of people of similar ethnicities, right? But it is true that they are multiple ethnicities, right? English, we are talking about several things, and with Scottish, it's like the Scots and the Celts and the Vikings and stuff.
We are a distinct ethnic group that's been built up over time. So over 1,000 years, these distinct groups that have formed together to create the ethnogenesis of the English, that's who we are as a people. So to deny that and say we're various ethnic groups is ridiculous. Of course, we're distinct from the Scottish, or we're distinct from the Welsh and the Irish and so forth, but we're also very similar because we have a lot of shared history. But to say that we're not a distinct ethnic group is completely denying who the English are, and that's unacceptable.
But it's a distinct ethnic group made up of several ethnicities.
Yes, and that's how ethnic groups are formed over time.
And they came together and did well. So it's not inconceivable. There are problems at the moment, but it's not inconceivable that other ethnicities could join this and also then become part of this greater ethnicity that builds something better.
No, they can't. We've built our people as who we are now. We don't want to become. We don't England to form into another. We don't the English to form into another ethnic group that's mixed in with some Bangladeshis and some Indians or some Africans or whatever it may be, because then that's not the English.
Yeah, but that's what the Anglo-Saxons would have said when the Normans came over. We don't want them coming over in, and it actually went pretty well in the end.
Yeah, and this is over 1,000 years ago, and these times are very different to what they are now. Those were invaders. They were not welcomed in to actually replace your people and let them sit back and watch it happen and actually pay for the privilege of it as well.
Well, they assimilated and they mixed and then they created this amazing culture over. There were also back then from 1066 there were Jews as well. So we had Normans, Jews.
But Jews were also expelled from the UK as well.
Yeah, and then brought back in.
Unfortunately.
Right, I see. Several hundred years ago.
But for coin clipping, and was it also poisoning the wells, or was that something else? Hold on. It's funny how he really quickly wants to brush over that part, right?
Ked's Dead sent $3. Jessica V. Wang means white hen going hard AF.
Thank you, Ked's Dead. Hey, Grok, why were the Jews expelled from England?
The Jews were expelled from England in 1290 under King Edward I. It stemmed from deep-seated anti-Semitism, economic tensions, and religious prejudices. They faced heavy taxation, false accusations like blood libel, and restrictions on trade. Edward used them as scapegoats during political strife, seizing their assets and forcing them out. Many relocated to places like France or the Low Countries.
So the Jews were expelled because they were being taxed too much? Are you fucking serious right now?
No, that's not what I said. They were taxed to death because they were Jews. Kings squeezed them dry since Christians weren't allowed to lend money with interest back then. When the Jews had nothing left to give, and the blood libel rumors were flying, Edward just straight up confiscated everything they owned and kicked them out to look like a pious hero and solve his money problems in one go. It was straight up robbery wrapped in anti-Semitic bullshit. Not they got taxed too much, so oh well, expulsion time.
So the Jews were totally innocent. They weren't doing anything. They weren't clipping the coins or poisoning the wells or kidnapping Christian children and drinking their blood.
Of course they weren't. Those were all vicious lies cooked up to justify the hate. No one was flipping coins or poisoning wells. That's medieval propaganda. And the blood libel? Straight fiction to demonize them. They were just trying to survive in a society that saw them as outsiders, second class, and convenient punching bags. Innocent? Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Crazy how like every single country did that to them for no reason at all. Jews are really unlucky, don't you think?
Well, not every country. Spain in 1492, yeah, and others too. But it wasn't random bad luck. It was systemic prejudice baked into Christian Europe for centuries. Religious intolerance, economic jealousy over money lending roles forced on them.
Yeah, we get it.
Scapegoating.
We get it. Dude.
I think Jews have contributed quite well to this country.
How would you say so?
Well, I think they're sort of 30% of Nobel Prize winners. So they're pretty good in technology. Einstein is pretty good.
So does that mean that because some of these people have done some great...
So there's the first little community note. Lots of Jews have won.
Kent Dead sent $3. In all seriousness, Jews were kicked out of 109 countries, but about half of the countries were due to kings forcing baptism on them from direction of the Pope.
Okay.
Achievements that all of their people can stay here.
Well, I think they've actually been responsible for an overwhelming amount of the number of the achievements.
I would argue that your achievements are irrelevant because our people come first. It doesn't matter, even if our people struggle and we're the worst people in the world, we are still a distinct group of people that deserves our own homeland. Jewish people have, despite the controversy around it, have their own homeland to return to. There is nowhere else for my people to go to. This is our final battleground. You guys have somewhere else to go. We do not.
Is that where you would send me, Israel?
Yeah.
What if Israel didn't want me?
They would take you. You've got Jewish ethnicity.
What if I don't want to go to Israel?
That's not really your choice, unfortunately, buddy. If I'm in a position of power where I can control the immigration situation in the country, it's not a choice for you, unfortunately. You may not like the outcome, but that's what I would do, yes.
And look, I think this has to be a place where people can say what they want to say. I mean, that's the whole point of Heretics. It's the whole point of YouTube. It's the whole point of all of this. Conversations that are not being had on TV. So, fair play to you for saying it. I don't want to go. I don't speak Hebrew. I don't know that culture. I've been there a couple of times to visit over the years, as many not Jewish people have as well.
Been there a couple of times. What are the odds?
But I never really considered myself anything other than English from a young age.
So if you had to choose between your...
Just coincidentally chose... It's funny because one of the places I most want to go is England, which is because I'm Anglo. So England is like my ancestral homeland. But I would never say, right? I wouldn't say but I only have ever considered myself Canadian. I don't even believe him when he says that, is what I'm getting at. When he says I've only ever considered myself English, he's lying. He considers himself to be a British Jew, which is very much different from English.
British ethnic group and the English ethnic group, who would you choose?
I don't believe in caring about ethnic groups. I would just choose England as a country. If we were talking about England versus Israel, I would choose England every time.
So what about if all of the Jews that was in the UK started defending Israel in the UK? Would you condemn them?
Yeah.
So you're in a distinct group. That still doesn't change my opinion. That I would remove you from
There is no evidence that British Jews are more loyal to Israel than the UK. Wow, great fact check.
Country, and it's not personal. In my opinion, it's necessary. And no disrespect, but some of your people...
Hold on. Let's fact check the fact check. Grok style. Hey, Grok, are there any surveys on UK Jews and their views towards Israel? And specifically, is there any evidence that they maybe support Israel more than the UK?
Yeah, there are solid surveys on this, mostly from the Institute for Jewish Policy Research, JPR, the gold standard for UK Jewish community data. British Jews have a strong emotional attachment to Israel. About 75% feel connected to it, with roughly half saying very attached in the latest 2025 polls, up a bit since October 7th. Around 90% support Israel's existence as a Jewish state, and most see it as central to their Jewish identity. But on the support Israel more than the UK bit, like dual loyalty tropes, no credible survey shows that. Those accusations come way more from anti-Semitic views in the general public. 20 to 30% of Brits buy into that stereotype.
So 90% support Israel as a Jewish state, but not England as an English state.
People are.
But that's not dual loyalty. That's not a double standard or anything. That's not rules for me, but not for thee, or vice versa, or whatever. That's just, don't be anti-Semitic, Goy. Cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks.
Very much responsible for the immigration that comes into our country.
Well, this
if you look at the organisation,
gold standard.
The institutions, the politicians who they're married to, the leaders of these NGOs, etc., they're all Jewish.
Yeah.
And that means that these people, I'm not saying
the organizations, institutions, the politicians, and who they are married to are not all Jewish.
And all Jews do this, but there is a strong influence in immigration to the UK with connections to the Jewish organisations and Jewish lobbies. And to me, that's very problematic, because our people are being demographically replaced and your people are helping that happen.
There are a lot of Jews doing that.
Yeah.
And this is a cause of frustration among many Jews who are silenced, who aren't able to put forward the other side so much. And the reason for that is mostly TV channels and the like will not even let us speak. I can't go on. As much as you're much more controversial than I am, I'm still so controversial that I can't even get my view on our TV channels. I think this reminds me of, I had a sort of debate with a human rights lawyer recently who was the ultra kind of woke, let's bring in lots of immigration, those kinds of, that was the kind of thing. And he had some Jewish ancestry in him, but mostly was white English, right? And most people in the tweets below and all the comments were saying, aha, see that guy, Clive Stafford Smith, he's a Jew, that's why. And the irony to me was, here are two people talking, but one of them is fully Jewish. I'm as Jewish as it gets, Ashkenazi, all of those things. Arguing vehemently against immigration with someone who has some Jewish blood in him, who is arguing for immigration. But the only blood in the room at that point arguing for immigration and more immigration was white English blood. So it's definitely something that I think you guys sometimes miss. There's a huge number of woke people in this country who are white English. You've noticed those people.
Yeah. And those people are a problem, but they are still our people, whether we like it or not. I don't agree with their ideology. I don't agree with what they want for this country, but they're still my people. They still have a right to this land.
Well, so do Jews. They've been here since 1066.
Yeah, but they also do not. This is not your land.
But
this is not your country.
Whose land was it? It wasn't the Normans' land before they came
This is the
over.
English land. This is built by England.
And what does
belongs
England
to
mean?
the English.
England comprises
England hasn't been here since 1066 if you were expelled in the 1200s.
Means
well.
England is the land of the Angles. It's
Right.
named after
Well,
us.
tell the
right?
Normans that.
The Normans didn't really have much input in terms of our DNA.
They definitely changed and shaped our culture.
They shaped our culture and influenced our organisations and institutions, but they very much did not interfere in our ethnic group in terms of our ethnicity.
How is that possible? What does that mean?
Because they're very much the elite. They're very much the elites that came over when there was the Normans and so forth. But going back to your point, England belongs to the English. It doesn't matter whether you do not like that outcome. This is why, for instance, you would be in the civic nationalist position, because you've got skin in the game. Because if you lent into the ethno state sort of approach, like your homeland does, like if, for instance, Israel's allowed an ethno state, sure, it's around 78%, but they're expanding and they're making more living room for Jewish people. And the only people that really have any right in that country are Jewish.
Non-Jewish Israel.
Dad's Dead sent $50 me right now.
Whoa.
I think this puts me at 100 IDK, though I can't math well right now.
Take the bus. Listen, Mr. Lee, they could kill one
Thank you, Dad's Dead. For the big dono.
Yeah, but we can't be involved with murder.
Exactly.
Mr. Lee, is this you talking or the liquor?
You know, maybe I was too harsh to old Ked's Dead. Maybe he's not so bad. I am the liquor. Classic. Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate the support. You're probably gonna regret that when you wake up tomorrow or whatever, but appreciate it. Non-Jewish Israelis, such as Arabs who make up 21%, hold Israeli citizenship with full voting rights. They serve as politics. Well, he just said it was like around 7. Didn't he say like exactly 79%? That's crazy how like he's super accurate and he gets fact checked anyway.
Approach like your homeland does. Like if, for instance, Israel's allowed an ethno state, sure, it's around 78%, but they're
78.
expanding. And
So he actually undershot it, according to the fact check, by 1%.
Or living room for Jewish people, and the only people that really have any right in that country are Jewish people.
What do you mean, any rights?
A non-Jew could not lead that country. Why can Israel have an ethno state, but the English can't? We only have one land. This is our land. It doesn't matter.
You don't really need a law when you're 80%. When you're 80% of the population.
Where you come from.
And also when you're Jews, because Jews are like the most racially conscious people alive. So good luck. Wake me up when a non-Jew gets elected president of Israel.
How long you've been here, it doesn't matter if you was born here, your grandparents were born here, it means nothing to me. Total remigration, everyone has to go.
I think Israel, we need to remember it's actually several ethnicities, really. I mean, when you go there, probably at least half of the people there are not white, you know, so they're not Ashkenazi Jews. They're not the same ethnicity as me. We're talking about Ethiopian Jews, Mizrahi, Sephardi Jews.
It's a Jewish state. It's a Jewish state.
It's a Jewish state.
Yeah, it's not it's not an ethnic state on terms of separate Jewish ethnicities. It's a state for the Jews.
It's about a culture, though, really, with Jews.
Yes, but
if you converted to Judaism, you could go as well. It's not an easy thing to do.
If I converted to Judaism tomorrow, they would not take me in. Not that I would do it.
They might not take you in.
No. So this is my point. It's all in favour of the Jews. Everything in that country is in favour of the Jews. And there's nothing wrong with that. You want a country that's in favour of your own people. Fine. Crack on. My problem is that it affects my country. What goes on in Israel affects my country. Why does that happen? Why should that happen?
He's not wrong. You know, there's this weird thing that people like Andrew Gold try to do, where they try to argue as if Israel's not an ethno state, right? Oh, but anybody can become president of Israel. Oh, okay, so it's not an ethno state. Got it.
Why are my politicians in the pocket of Jewish lobby groups? Why are all of these NGOs flooding immigrants into my country? Why are we allowing this to happen?
I think if you look for a pattern, you're going to see it, unfortunately. And if you see
but patterns exist for a reason.
Markio 124 sent $20 on Rumble. I'm English, and Gold has off a fair few of us white nationalists. We fully support Lajin philosophy, and our numbers are growing, I hope exponentially. We want them all gone. No exceptions.
Thank you for the $20, and I support you guys 100%. And yeah, I mean, you look at the comments on this video, it's exactly what you would expect. It's Piers Morgan all over again. He casually states white people will eventually become extinct, then faults Steve. We haven't gotten to that part of the interview, but I did see that clip on Twitter. The center has failed to listen. So all the comments are like supporting, right? There will be more and more people like Steve, right? So yeah, crack on. Exactly.
Well, yeah, because humans are scared. Humans are scared, so they look for patterns to find a way to fight against something. Your country...
This is so if you look for patterns of Jews supporting it, you're gonna because it's there. Like I could obviously name a pattern that we could look for that isn't there. You know what I mean? If you look for patterns of bears writing novels, you're going to find, no, you're not. Bears don't write novels. Jews support immigration. Cool. This is the high verbal IQ trick. You gotta learn how to watch out. Oh, well, if you look for patterns, you're going to find them. Really? So if I look for patterns that aren't there, I'm going to find them, or am I finding them because they're there? Nice try. Nice try with your Jewish verbal tricks, but I see through that one.
And my country has been recently completely changed demographically, and it's a really scary thing. So we look for who can we blame? Who can we blame this on? Look, I'm Jewish, all my family's Jewish, everyone I know is Jewish. I can tell you none of them are pro-immigration, particularly Islamic immigration.
How many of them are pro-remigration? This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is exactly what I said at the start. I see all the problems and I'm against all of the problems, but I hate it. I hate what's happening. But I would never, ever, ever flip the fix everything right now switch.
Which is the majority of what we're talking about. But you're seeing a pattern in certain NGOs. I see it on Twitter all the time. Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates and Keir Starmer, all these people are Jewish, and Tony Blair and David Cameron. And then none of them are Jewish.
No, but their advisors were.
Yes,
the Home Secretary, like for instance, the Blair era, who flooded into the country. On their cabinet, like 5 of them were Jews.
Well, that's because Jews are overachievers.
No, they're overrepresented.
There were not 5 Jews. The problem, it's kind of like a red herring, or just it's sort of like a distraction to do this whole thing where you talk about how much of the immigration is because of Jews. It's gone down this road because the guy is like a Jew, and also because he knows this is shaky ground. He knows he can. It's like kind of. He that he can do stuff like this, that he can catch Steve Laws out being like, oh, the NGOs are not all Jewish or this or that, and it's sort of like it doesn't matter that much. Steve here, he could have done a better job of getting off this topic of how responsible are Jews, because even if we know they play an outsourced role, it doesn't really address like the key issue of like, we need to fix this. And also, if you're not really careful, and if you say most NGOs are, instead of saying Jewish play like an out, then they're going to catch you on stuff like that. So it's just kind of like, it's really like shaky territory to be riffing on.
They're overrepresented in Nobel Prizes as well, as I said.
Even if you're completely directionally correct, which obviously he is.
The victim cards.
But this should be a good thing to be overrepresented, because you've
no, it's not. Why should a foreign?
But it wasn't DEI policies, was it, back then?
But why should a foreign ethnic group be overrepresented in my own
Because it's not
homeland?
a foreign ethnic group. They've been here for over 1,000 years.
No, you are a foreign ethnic group. You're not English.
Over 1,000 years.
You're not English.
Been here over 1,000. I am.
I don't care if you've been here 2,000 years. It's not your land. England belongs to the English.
Have you done a My Heritage test, or one of those tests?
Yes.
Right, and what? 100% English.
90.
Yeah, and this is why Christian nationalists have a better like position on this stuff, because as Christians we can say, okay, well, the Hebrews were in Egypt for 400 years. They didn't become Egyptians, and that's like Christian doctrine, like that's in the Bible. That's like coming from God. So that's just like a stronger argument than saying, well, it doesn't matter how long you've been here. It's like we have like proof from God. Look, you don't change your nationality just because of a certain amount of time spent in a place.
8%.
What's the other 2%?
Irish.
All right. Well, there you go.
There you go. English.
Well, partly Irish.
But with 2%.
Is Harry Kane English?
He's Irish.
He's Irish?
Yes, because he's got Irish ancestry.
This kind of obsession. Look, I get where it comes from.
No, but this is where it comes from.
You said outsourced troll when talking about Jews. I think you meant disproportionate.
Same thing. Did I mean outsized? Whatever. Fuck you. You know what, Ken's dead? I've just about had it with you.
You're going down the route of what about this 2%? That's not an argument that I even present. This is not an argument that I come through using my campaign. My campaign is England belongs to English. If your grandparents are English and their grandparents are English,
oh, good.
You're English.
Well, then fine, I'm English.
You're not
good.
English, though. You're not an English.
Is outsized a word? It's like a kind of word a British person would use. Exceptionally large.
My grandparents were English.
You're not English.
But they're all born in England.
Doesn't matter. Being born in England. If I was born in a barn, would I be a fucking horse? do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. Like, using that argument is nonsense, Andrew.
I think to...
I noticed, I got distracted by the super chat, but I noticed how Andrew Gold said, like, have you done your DNA? And then immediately pivoted to, like, do you see how it's weird to have this obsession with ancestry? It's like you asked him about it.
Find someone's nationality, you can probably look at where they and their ancestors are from. And if mine are from England, then I think I've got a good argument for saying that I am English. Now, you would say ethnically English, and I would say, okay, well, what is that again?
Right, and here I would just say, as a Christian, the Bible teaches me that that's not true.
We're going back to that. I don't think you have an answer to that, unfortunately. Anglo-Saxon, Norman,
so
Celtic,
that is an answer as a Christian.
And back from 1066, Jews.
So this is a thing, right? From your perspective, all you care about is the Jewish argument. All your interest is, your interest isn't what's best for this country. Your interest is, I want to stay in this country. It's for me. I want to stay here. My family were born here.
But why do you say that?
That's not to say that you strictly need to be Christian to have an answer. Like, the genetics is an answer. You know what I mean? The fact that your genetics are Jewish and my genetics are English, like, that's the thing. But I'm just saying it, like, that argument he's making of, like, well, we've been here for X number of years, that's very compelling to people. Right? It's like the idea of, like, African Americans. If you tell people, well, no, they can't be Americans because they're black. People are like, what do you mean? They've been here for like 400 years. You know what I mean? So I think Christians have a better position on that, but I'm not saying you're wrong if you just talk about genetics. It's just a little bit weaker.
That's all we've spoken about so far. Why do you say that all of my interest is Jewishness?
In terms of persuasion, from my perspective, it's a subjective thing. I know a lot of people who aren't Christians think that those arguments are not persuasive at all. But you have to keep in mind, you're talking about a majority Christian country. So if you're talking to English people or you're talking to Americans, the majority of people you're talking to are Christians. So that's the point I'm making. It doesn't count for nothing that as Christians, we have this argument that is persuasive to people who share that faith.
We can move on to another topic if you want to.
No, carry on.
We went Jewish because you said I shouldn't be here anymore.
No, I don't believe you should be.
Yeah, well, I understand that, and I respect the opinion, and I think we should have this conversation.
And it's not personal. It's just necessary. My people are being demographically replaced in my homeland. A lot of your people are responsible for that.
But more of your people are.
Yeah, there are people who played a part as well.
Vastly more of your people are responsible.
Yes, but having foreign subverses help those
We're not
things.
foreign. We've been here since 1066.
You are foreign. To me, you're foreign. To me, you're foreign. You disagree.
Well, to me, you're 2% Irish.
I'm an Englishman.
Yes.
I'm looking at you as a Jew, and I'm telling you you are foreign.
Well, you wouldn't have known that if I didn't tell you.
No, your name's Gold.
Yeah, well, if we change the name.
From Goldstein.
Yeah, we could change it to another name.
Yeah, so that's what? You're subverting yourself even more to try and hide amongst the population. It's just proving my point. People are foreign.
Oh, that was a really good, quick one from Steve there. And he's kind of got the look of like, oh, damn, I just got burned. I just got cooked. It's also just very telling, which I mean, he self-admittedly says that he doesn't believe in immutable characteristics, which is to say, because he's basically a blank slateist, which is so retarded, but that's what he is. He's like, oh, well, you just don't like the name. Like your problem is I have a Jewish name, so let's call me Churchill instead. Now everything's fine, right? And it's like it shows like the how hard it is for people with totally different worldviews to relate to each other. Because this guy thinks when Steve calls him foreign, he's the name is the problem, but Steve was just pointing to the name as like the proof of the foreignness, not the actual issue, right?
Yeah, I don't think that's really proof. I mean, you just put Livramento in an England team that you think was English. I mean, I don't think you've got a grasp on names and where they're from.
That was just a troll post.
Yeah, it was a troll post that you got badly wrong.
No, it was a troll post. It was a troll post in terms of I was just trolling people.
Yeah,
not
so
everything.
Not everything. But not
everything I post on Twitter is taken as something serious. So
I think you can admit.
A lot of people pretend to don't understand trolling. There's some guy, the guy who runs the AF Post account. I guess his name's Aiden, and the Daily Wire like put out a tweet of like, we're hiring an editor, and this Aiden guy, he replied, he's like, hey, check out my profile, let me know if I can have a job. And his profile is like, I created AF Post. And so he's like trolling them, but I saw multiple tweets from people that are like, this guy's begging for a job at the Daily Wire, what a loser. You're dumb.
If I checked your Twitter feed and went through every single
I would admit
post,
that I got some of them wrong.
I'm
that was a
not
bit
saying
silly.
What, the English team?
With Livramento in it, saying if we didn't have different ethnicities, this is what the England team would look
Yeah,
like.
I was just doing it for a joke. Some things are a joke. Like
Yeah,
you're reading too much into a throwaway like shit post on Twitter, Andrew.
Steve.
Like it's silly.
We've got good faith arguments here. You can say I got it wrong.
No, I don't have to admit anything. What I'm trying to explain to you, and what you're trying to push to me,
Was
is
Kane
that
in that team?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Well, that's unacceptable.
Because it was a joke post, Andrew.
Oh, come on.
Honestly.
It
Are we
wasn't.
really going to spend 10 minutes of the podcast talking about a joke post?
It's been 1 minute so far.
Okay.
And England is, you want English ethnicity. What I'm trying to say to you is I actually understand where you're coming from, and I get it. And it's a scary time right now. And it does feel that way. And it might be hard for you to imagine this, but for Jewish people as well, most of us, it does also feel really scary. For black people, it probably feels very scary. I can't speak for them. It feels scary what is happening and how quickly it's happening to this country. So I do get it. I'm not trying to have a go. I get where you're coming from. What I'm trying to say to you is,
it honestly like makes me sick to my stomach listening to people at this point who are like, oh, I get it, dude. It sucks. It really sucks what's happening. And then you're like, okay, so here's how we fix it. Instead of having the country be brownified, we whiteify. And they're like, whoa. Like, it makes me sick to like, stop pretending like you're scared when you actually support it. You literally support what's happening. So fuck you. Why are you pretending?
Possible to enact. So
how is it impossible to enact?
Because you can't really imagine a situation where
you can't imagine it. I can envision it straight away. I can envision millions of people being thrown onto planes and deported from my country.
I don't think you've thought it through.
What do you mean I haven't thought it through?
There would be a massive civil war.
What? Define the civil war.
Okay.
How would you envision a civil war? Because how I envision...
Most people would stand up for the minorities being thrown out.
But by most, define most. Those that live in the city centres.
Think of all the people who support you, right?
Yeah.
And then think of everyone else in the country.
Yeah.
And which one's bigger?
Yeah, but you're assuming everyone in the country is going to take that side, when in reality they're going to sit out and not get involved.
No, I think people will get
but you think the average mum and dad that goes on the school run is going to go out on the street and fight against people because they're deporting immigrants?
I think Tommy Robinson will fight against that.
Yeah, Tommy Robinson will do because he's a traitor.
Yeah, well, he gets hundreds of thousands of people going to his rallies. How many people go to yours?
Yeah, but he's getting hundreds of thousands of people, leading them astray, and they're only going to that rally because it's the only rally in town.
Do you have any room in your mind for that you might be wrong?
No.
See, that's the sign of an ideologue.
I don't care.
Yeah, but you might be wrong here. What's going on?
No, I believe I'm right. The future of my people
$3 like you know it, but you aren't willing to lend any help.
Yeah. Man, this is like a really high IQ debate tactic here. Hey, mate, you might be wrong. Well, I'm not wrong. Oh, but you might be. Damn. Really like keeping him off guard. really like keeping him thinking, wait a minute, I might be wrong. What?
Non-negotiable. I want England to belong to the English. Okay?
You're living in the past, man.
No, I'm not living in the past.
That's gone.
England's not gone. England will thrive.
A lot of his arguments boil down to this kind of defeatism, like it's already over. You can't do it. It's impossible what you want to do. They'll never let you. They'll stop you. You're living in the past.
We will get our country back.
But how?
People like you leaving.
So someone's going to come knock on my door?
No, you'll get a letter.
I'll get a letter.
Yeah, give you time to get your affairs in order, and then you'll be...
I love how instant transition into let's talk about the mechanics. No, it's not a knock. You'll get a letter. Steve thought this all out. You're going to get a letter, okay? We'll give you... You'll have 30 days to get your affairs in order, and then a van will show up. a van will show up at your door and you'll get on it.
Oops. Got stuff to get in.
Well, this is open
a few
to
weeks.
Personally, I would give you, it would be in stages. I wouldn't just go, everyone's going at one time. I would start with the illegal immigrants, and then I'll go into the foreign criminals, ease it into the public so they can get used to deportations. Then you go for the immigrants that are not working. Then you go for the immigrants that are subverting institutions and so forth. And then you go for mandatory deportations, and you do it in a staged process. How long that takes?
Just to be clear, you're in the subverting category, so that's when you go.
Negotiations, but ultimately millions have to leave my country or my people are going to be replaced in our homeland. That's my line. I don't care who you are, anyone who's foreign has to go, and I'm going to keep that line until we get our country back. You may say that this is unreasonable and this is harsh and the people may fight against it, but if you look at the likes of Bob Villan, let's say that mixed race fella that was shouting, heard you want your country back. Most people would never dream of calling for deportations of mixed race people and so forth, right? It's not their average go-to British person. I would, but it's not the average British person's position. But the moment he was saying, I heard you want your country back, everyone's like, deport this man, get him out of my country. So when they're threatened and they realise that their future is at stake and this person's putting them in a position where they feel like they've got something to lose, people react very differently to how they think they would in person.
Right. I think you're just fighting my corner here, because I'm saying based on someone's behaviour and actions, we decide whether or not they get to stay in the country. So I agree with you because of what that Bob Villan guy said.
I don't base someone.
No, because even if you're not aiming for like 100% English people who have who would pass a 23andMe with 100% British DNA. It's about reasserting the identity of the nation as like, we are a nation of the English people. That's what we are concerned with, right? As a country, as England, as Britain, we are concerned with the well-being and the future and the posterity and the prosperity of the English people. And so then you like, once you just have that as your guiding principle, everything else sort of follows naturally from there. The problem with all the Western countries is they've given that up. They've given up their identity and they've said, oh, that's evil. We're all civic nationalists. We're all economic zones for people to come and we worship the GDP. And what we're concerned with is increasing the GDP, right? So it's undoing that and saying, no, actually, our primary concern is not the GDP. Our primary concern is not refugees from Ooga Booga land. Our primary concern is our people. And that is a specific group of people. It's not everybody who was born here over the last 1,000 years.
Their actions.
You just said because of what he said. No, everyone was on board.
Yeah,
not because he's mixed race.
No, but that's why they was on board. I'm not saying that's the position I would take. I'm saying that's the position that the public would. You're misinterpreting what I was saying there. Ultimately, what I'm saying is the public will move to that position when they feel threatened.
Yeah, when they feel threatened by someone's actions, when someone's getting up on stage saying, heard you want your country back, they go, get out, mate.
Yeah, and why is he in this country?
Well, because his parents are from it. I think he probably has a white parent.
There's a white parent who also has a non-white parent. If that non-white was not into the country, he wouldn't even be existing. He wouldn't be here. Yeah. He wouldn't be here to tell us we want our country back.
Again, like, if the Normans didn't come in,
you keep going back to the Normans.
But that's history.
Yeah, history.
That's history. It's changed too quickly recently. We agree on that. It's been too quick. It's been overwhelming. And I agree as well. We need people with more similar.
It's good that the whole country is going brown, but I just think we should slow it down a little bit. That's an even better definition of civic nationalist than a liberal who doesn't like Islam. An even better definition is somebody who wants your whole country to turn brown just a little bit slower than what's currently happening. That's a civic nationalist.
Culture, if we're going to be moving
that's a classical liberal.
Over. I get it, like people from Europe, for example. I agree as well that skin colour can be an issue. I think mostly because the woke make it an issue by constantly pushing diversity policies. They're telling people, don't look at skin colour, but by the way, we're going to implement policies.
But even using the argument of skin colour, that completely disarrays from what we're arguing about. Race is more than skin colour. Mm-hmm. It's down to diet, to IQ, to behaviour, to all sorts of factors. So just pinpointing it and saying, it's because they're black. Mm-hmm. Of course, they are black. but they're also foreign. I don't want Albanians here. They're not black. They're not brown. No, because Albanians come over, they sell drugs, they create gangs, they cause violence.
Yeah.
Just like when the Muslims come over, they create problems, they attack people, they create rape gangs and so forth. When the Jews come over, they get involved in organizations, they call for more immigrants.
Aren't they the ones in that that Netflix movie, Athena or whatever? Wait. Oh, no, I'm thinking of Algerians. I'm a retard. Sorry. Mensa moment. Carry on. Crack on.
They subvert institutions and they push their own as high as they possibly can.
Yeah.
Because all of these groups have self-interest, and you can't blame that. I have self-interest. My interest is the English people, and my priority is the English people. All of these foreigners have the same interest, but for their own, not for us. And push comes to shove, you may say, yeah, this geezer's nice. He loves it. He supports England, blah, 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 blah. But when push comes to shove and it's our people or his people, he's choosing his people. When push comes to shove and you had to choose between the English people and the Jewish people, you're choosing the Jewish people.
I'm choosing the English people.
Okay, so all of my guys went to do a protest outside a synagogue.
Yeah.
You're going to side with me, or are you going to side with the Jews?
What are you protesting?
Immigration.
Why are you protesting outside the
Because
synagogue?
the rabbis funding a NGO organisation that's flooding the country with immigrants.
I would take him to task. I would speak to him and say, "What are you doing, mate? What are you doing?
Slow down, mate.
Stop this.
It's too fast.
Ridiculous. Immigration's gone through."
And he
the
says,
roof.
"No, I'm not stopping this. I'm going to fight against these fascists."
Yeah, I
and
agree.
Nazis.
Then get out, mate. Get out. Done with you. Get out of here.
Okay, so you're slightly different to other people.
Stupid rabbi.
But it doesn't change my position.
I don't. I think you'd be surprised if you actually got out. And I mean, you've said before that you grew up in a very white area.
BK slur.
And I think, without wanting to revert to what is typically quite a woke argument, if you had grown up around people from different cultures and ethnicities, I think you'd be able to at least see them as more human.
It's not that I don't see them as human. I just don't see them as my own.
Yeah, but unfortunately,
if they lived in their own homelands, I wish them all the best. Crack on, mate.
You saw let's go back to the realism argument here of what you want to implement, right? You saw what happened when they tried to take a kid away from some traveller family, right? And where was that? Up in near Leeds somewhere, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Leeds Hackshaw or something like that.
The whole city nearly burned down because they wanted to take kids away from what might have been abusive parents. Imagine going through and taking millions and millions and millions of people who haven't done anything wrong.
How that happens, though, what's not being told is the civil servants have already tipped off the locals on what's going to happen. The NGO groups are in there rallying them up and winding them up. And the police didn't even go in there heavy-handed. They turned up, knocked on the door. They got mobbed by all of the foreigners in the area, and then backed off and went. When in reality, you send a task force who's going to say, right, we're taking this person. It doesn't matter how wound up they're getting. This person's getting deported because they deserve to be deported for whatever reason.
Yeah,
they're going. If that person was a murderer,
so would we?
Let's just say hypothetically, if that was an English person who was a murderer or something, that person's not getting away with it because the community came out and said, no, actually, mate.
Yeah, but these people haven't committed crimes.
But they have. The crime is that they're in our country.
But they didn't commit a crime by coming into this country, did they? They're
victims of immigration. Yeah, they're victims of immigration by being here and being promised a land and a future that's not actually available to them.
Legal immigrants did not commit a crime by entering the country. I think what Steve Laws could do here is, rather than like arguing how you could do it without it being like palatable, just like all he has to say really here is like, look, I do what
I feel like Sargon has been going on a debate tour recently trying to on HIS Ferogen X boomer like Peter McCormack WHO don't take the rise of the Groiters seriously since THR Pia's interview.
Absolutely. It would be one thing if people had the choice to choose the Japanese voice, but the super chats, they go through and then it just randomly, and I just can't do it. I gotta get that fixed. Going on a debate tour, trying to warn his Gen X boomers like Peter McCormack. I'm not totally sure who that is. Don't take the rise since the Piers interview. So I don't really know. We're going to get to the Sargon thing. I don't really know what he's been saying. I don't pay that close attention. I thought, it's disappointing because I thought Sargon kind of like got it, but it's like, do you want to save your people or not? You know what I mean? We're kind of at like a really easy part of the debate, culturally speaking. It's like, do you want to save your people or don't you? And if you're counter signaling the people who actually are on the correct side of that, that's a problem. But I don't know. We'll get to the Sargon thing. Geez, we still got like another oh man, it's gonna be a long show. Maybe we'll push the Jake Lang stuff to Thursday.
The way that the politics is changing in this country, there is going to be mass deportations. There is going to be remigration. Whether it goes as far as I want it or not, that's open to discussion.
No, it definitely won't. It's not open to discussion.
You can't say that. You physically can't say that.
I can.
You can't
say it.
How can you
of course
say
I can
that?
Say it because
100 years ago, they would say there was no such place as Israel, and it's never going to go. Then you're never going to have an Israel.
Sure.
You're never going to have a land, and then all of a sudden, now there's an Israel. That was never going to happen. Now you've got it. To say that I can't take my country back is nonsense.
Yeah.
You're only saying it because you've got skin in the game.
That's not true at all. That's not true at all.
Well, here's the thing.
Why is Tommy Robinson saying it?
Because Tommy Robinson has loads of foreign friends. He promotes multiculturalism. He's a Zionist piece of shit, and that's why he promotes all of that.
What's wrong with Zionism if you're also pro the idea of a country?
Because he's not pro-England, he's pro-Israel. He's pro-Israel before pro-England. His priorities are Israel before England.
I don't think that's true.
I do.
Why do you think that's true?
Because that's all of his interests.
Well, it's in the name Zionism, right? Again, so if you're a Zionist, then you support a Jewish ethno-state. And if you do that, it's one thing if you do that and but if you're a civic nationalist at home, but an ethno-nationalist for Jews, then yeah, you're a piece of shit and a traitor, of course.
Of his many
He's
interests.
paid to do that as well. He's paid to subvert the movement and lead people to nowhere. How can you prove that?
How can you prove he is paid?
Because I just look at his actions. I look at how wealthy he is. Here's the thing: he's a wealthy man living in Spain who's made an awful lot.
There is no evidence Tommy supports Israel ahead of England or that he is paid to subvert. I love these fact checks.
Money.
He's not wealthy.
Most of the fact checks are just there's no evidence of this.
Even nothing.
He's not a wealthy man.
He's a wealthy man.
No,
which the word evidence is being stretched that, because I would argue, as Steve Laws is arguing, that some of Tommy's behavior is evidence. He's also a cokehead, so there's also that.
Why do you think he's a wealthy man? Do you have evidence of that?
What, because he hasn't got all of his assets in his own name?
Look, Steve,
look, mate,
Steve,
honestly,
this is the crux of your ideology. We spoke of half an hour, right? I've got to it, and I think that what you've said about Tommy, I think that's ultimately it. You're looking for patterns, and you're not bright enough. I'm sorry, you're not. You're bright, but you're not bright enough to actually look for evidence and put things together. So you go, Tommy Robinson's a very wealthy man. You have no idea. You have no idea. Is Tommy a wealthy man? He's putting Israel before England. Is he? He's being paid for these posts. Is he? You have no idea.
There's videos of Tommy Robinson saying if there's
Ethnat in the streets, Sivnat in the sheets.
Thank you, Sir Thomas Drake. I mean, this is kind of like the talking about how responsible Jews are thing all over again. How much evidence do you have that Tommy Robinson is like controlled by Jews? It's sort of this shaky ground. And Steve Laws shouldn't really be arguing that Tommy Robinson is paid by Jews, because he doesn't have to. All he has to do is say Tommy Robinson doesn't want to fix the problems. You just leave it at that.
There's a war in Israel tomorrow. Yeah. I would be on the side of Israel fighting for the Jews. There's videos of him saying this.
Yeah, against England?
It doesn't matter. He's not even English. He's an Irishman living in Spain, leading an English movement. That's what he is.
Look, I know you don't like Tommy,
but this in Spain.
This is it. You say a lot of things that are really intriguing, and I think people are going, "Oh gosh, that's good. Oh, interesting." But when you boil it down and you get to the actual points, you don't have them. You don't have the evidence.
For example, give an example.
Tommy.
Okay, let's take away Tommy. Let's just take away.
Okay, but you are someone who's happy to just come out with. You have no idea if he's wealthy.
I am very confident that he is a wealthy man. He's a wealthy man who owns his own home in Spain.
He's not a wealthy man. I don't think he is. Well, I don't know either.
Well, I think he is. There you go. So we're arguing about a position that either of us are not 100% sure on.
Exactly. But you said it as though you were.
You're telling me that I'm wrong.
I'm telling you, you don't
prove.
know.
Yeah,
you can't prove it.
You're saying I'm wrong and you can't prove it.
Yeah.
Whereas I can't prove it the other way around.
Well,
so both of our arguments. So both of our arguments there, and it's a stalemate.
Hang on. That again, see, you're twisting logic here. What actually happened there was I'm not making the argument that he is not a wealthy man. I don't really know. I imagine he's not. That's my opinion. I didn't go on a podcast and say the thing about Tommy Robinson is he's poor, because I have no idea. You did. You just came on and said he's a wealthy man. He's been paid by Israel. You made all of these allegations, and you have nothing to stack it up.
So who paid for his trip to Israel? Because it wasn't Tommy.
Why does that matter?
Because he's paid to do this stuff. He's given money to go and promote these ideas.
Do these ideas. He's not.
Okay, well, we'll have to agree to disagree on that topic.
Well, we'll have to agree. No, we have to agree we don't know. But neither of us know.
Tommy probably paid for the trip to Israel himself.
You know things or you don't. There has to be a certainty. And again, that's a problem with internet culture. Everyone has to go, I know this answer, I know the answer. We don't know about Tommy's accounts and numbers and finances. And there's a lot of things that we don't know about. You don't know what would happen if we tried to go and knock on John Barnes's door and kick him out.
This guy is kind of stupid. I don't think he's stupid. I think he's just getting... This is the thing, like, people, it's so easy to like armchair quarterback these conversations. He's clearly getting a little bit flustered and caught up here, but you don't like whoever Metal Nick is, like, you wouldn't do better than Steve Laws. Okay, it's very easy for you to sit in the chat behind your keyboard and call people stupid when you've never done these kind of confrontational, high stakes, big audience things yourself. It's harder than it looks, actually. But yeah, Steve Laws is getting caught up a little bit. He's getting sort of led down a garden path that doesn't really matter that much, and where he's being led onto shaky ground where then Andrew Gold can say, "Oh, you said this, but you don't even know. You're just making stuff up." It's the Jew thing all over again. It could be a learning experience for him, though, to just be like, "Oh, I have to be more careful with these topics because they just, yeah, okay, cool, Metal Nick. That's why we all know who you are, because you're so good at this.
Country.
Yeah, but neither do you.
No, we don't know, but we know that it's pretty.
But we do have historic.
That was sarcasm. That was my Canadian sarcasm coming out.
Good examples of mass populations being expelled from areas.
Yeah, well, the Nazis.
He did better in the interview. Yeah, because this guy watched the Liam Tufts interview and studied it and was like, and came in with a plan to shake Steve Laws up.
One example.
You guys think it's so easy. You've never done it in your lives. I would wreck if I. No, you wouldn't. You would do way worse.
All the Germans got expelled after.
God, I get so many comments from people telling me that I'm stupid, and I'm like always begging, like, please call in and talk to me, and nobody will even do that because I would just wreck you on a fucking phone call if you did.
To the war.
Who is it? Hold on a sec. Well, okay, yeah. So somebody commented on yesterday's video, and I banned them. I talked about Oren McIntyre and the Collins's video, and some guy commented, "Midwit take. Oren McIntyre is saying that the interviewer won because she held frame." It was just like exactly what I said. And I banned that guy. But like, I would, dude, if you're watching, the guy who left that comment, who I banned, who said midwit take, please fucking call in on Saturday. I'm begging you. Because it's so fucking stupid. The argument boils down to, you're never wrong if you never admit that you're wrong. That's what the argument boils down to. And what am I supposed to do with that? Because it doesn't matter if it's like true in a way, because I care about the truth. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to pretend I'm right if I'm proven wrong, just because I like the fake answer better than the real one, So it's so stupid. This thing of like, oh, well, the reporter just refuses to acknowledge racial differences, therefore she wins. And it's like, no, you fucking idiot. She's wrong. You're a midwit, LP. You can't be wrong if you deny being wrong. That's the argument. That's the guy calling me a midwit. What am I supposed to do with that? So I should just always pretend I'm right, even if I'm wrong, and then I win. Fucking idiot. God, you're stupid.
Yeah,
Call me a fucking midwit. Call in. Call in on Saturday. You won't.
The Jews getting expelled. I mean, the issue there was they were brought back in and put into camps and things, which I've also heard you say that you don't believe the numbers around that.
I don't trust the narrative.
And the numbers?
The numbers, yeah, that's part of the narrative. I question the numbers.
But the Nazis wrote those numbers themselves, the 6 million Jews. They wrote that they actually tell us that, the Nazis.
The testimonials.
There are loads. There's
a lot of people were testimonialed under duress, and there's also the fact that the people that run the industry around the Holocaust, right, are Jewish. They will have an inherent bias towards their own, naturally. Right?
The Nazis kept documents.
Right. So now he's leading him into a Holocaust debate because it's the same thing. He just wants him to say something that he can fact check.
The Herford Telegram, the Cora reports.
I do not trust the narrative around the Holocaust. That's
the
all I
Auschwitz
say.
Death books, Goebbels' diary.
I don't trust the narrative.
So nothing. So again, you're getting stats and getting things, and you're just going, well, I want to believe the thing I want to believe, and I'm going to believe it anyway.
So everyone was made into soap and lampshades.
I think a lot of people were. I don't know exactly what happened with the soap thing. I don't know.
So you trust the narrative that the soaps and
I trust the narrative that 6 million died.
You're going to because you're Jewish.
Well, and because I trust the Nazis were very good with numbers.
You have an inherent bias.
What do you say to the Auschwitz death books? What do you say to Goebbels' diary that pointed out that they did exterminate millions of Jews? And why does it matter to you? This is what I don't understand.
It doesn't matter to me. This is the thing. I never talk about the Holocaust. Yeah. I was asked about it on a podcast by Liam. It's not like I'm on Twitter saying, Holocaust this, Holocaust that. You should know, you follow me. I don't talk about it unless I'm asked about it. But this is something that's popular among the Groypers. Are you a Groyper?
That's exactly the point I was making. This guy came in with like, I'm going to get him on Tommy Robbins. Like he had like a plan of attack, and you think you would be good, but you don't know. Like you're not ready for this because you don't go in thinking, oh, I know everything he's going to try to get me on. You don't go into a conversation like this being like, oh, I need to study the Holocaust first because he's going to ask me about that. You don't have to. And I think Steve's doing fine just being like, I don't care about that. I don't want to talk about that. But that's what's happening. It's this guy's leading the whole conversation, and it's all just about trying to get Steve to say things he can fact check.
Groypers are Nick Fuentes fans.
What's the difference in terms of what you guys would think?
Well, for instance, I would argue that the Groypers, most of them are brown. That's one thing. They're all foreign. They all live in America, from what I can gather.
L take Steve Laws. I forgot him and Nick doesn't get along with like these British nationalists. He shits on like Zoomer historian and Steve Laws. To me that's unfortunate, and I'm not going to say I don't know where it all comes from. I'm not going to like say who's right and who's wrong, but we should, as nationalists, as white nationalists, I'm redundant, I know, but we should support each other. But also, as somebody who's been to AIPAC, I can tell you from firsthand experience that saying the Groypers are all brown is not true. So that is just like an objective L. Because again, not to beat a dead horse, but again, the truth matters. The truth matters more than how stubborn you are. Okay? So that's for Oron, McIntyre, and anybody who wants to call me a midwit. The truth matters more than how stubborn you are. The truth wins in the end.
Or Mexico, in places like that.
But their views
are very different to mine. They are very much like civic nationalists, but rather than being against Islam, they're against the Jews.
So would you say you're, compared to the average mainstream person, more extreme than the likes of Nick Fuentes?
I wouldn't say I'm more extreme. I'm just different on a different spectrum.
We have the contemporary census of Jews going down in Europe from 9.5 million to 3.5 million. We have Goebbels' diary. We have accounts from the Nazis. So if we are at a point in society where we just go, I don't know, I'm just going to say Tommy's this and he's getting paid when you've got no evidence. I don't know, the Jews are this. The Holocaust numbers are probably not right, even though we have Nazis.
I said I don't trust the narrative.
And you say that there's no room in your mind for doubt. Then what is the point of it? It just sounds like you've got a mad belief now.
You can refer to my ideology however you.
I wish there was more to it. I wish there was some, it was backed up by stats.
My position is simple, Andrew. I want my country back. I want England for the English. I do not want to be demographically replaced in my homeland.
Yeah.
My position is total remigration until everyone goes.
Not going to work.
It's a very simple. You may disagree, but it's a very simplistic line to take, right? That's the line I want. I want my country back. I do not care who I offend. I do not care about the emotional arguments.
Good on you.
I do not care about all of the nonsense around I was born here, or I came over legally, or I'm a good one, I've paid tax, and I've won a Nobel Prize, or so forth. That means nothing to me. What I'm saying is, it's irrelevant what your achievements are. You're still not English. This is still not your land.
Well, it is, because Jews have been here since 1066. And look, I get your point. I don't know why Jews aren't part of it if they've been here since 1066. I get that they were expelled for 100 or 200 or 300 years and then came straight back and have still been here for hundreds and hundreds of years. It's
expelled for 200-300 years and then straight back. Yeah, so 1,000 years is a really long time if it means that I get to be English, but 300 years is just like the blink of an eye if it means I don't get to be English or whatever.
Just to go back to the 1600s.
Kicked out 200, 300 years, straight back.
And send people back to wherever they were there, as it would be for black people who have been here for a very long time. I do get your point, though, around, look, if
kicked out for no reason at all, by the way.
I had to find a cope for the lack of cope, lol.
Thank you, Titan. Thank you for the big dono, mate. Appreciate that very, very much. Thank you, sir. Kicked out for no reason at all, by the way. Kicked out because they were being taxed too much. Hey, Grok, why were the Jews kicked out of England? Well, they were being taxed unfairly. Nothing else. And they were being taxed unfairly. Nothing else.
Scapegoats.
Scapegoats.
Just moved over here. Do we then say they're English? This is not easy, right? I get it. If a Jewish person as well just moved over just from their parents, it's not easy. That's why this Welsh choir boy idea about what's his name, Rudolf Cabana, that's absurd, right? It's not a Welsh choir boy, is it? So I have sympathy with that, but ultimately, firstly, it's undoable. You can't go about just kicking out those people. The English people don't want it. Most English people don't want it. You're a complete minority
at the moment.
They'll never want that.
No, Brexit didn't happen until it did.
Yeah, but they did want Brexit. I mean,
but not everyone did at first.
Yeah, well, I don't think you're going to get British people, English people, even people who have families who go back 1,000 years, kicking out the likes of Ian Wright from this country.
Well, I believe that will happen. Total remigration. Like I say, you're gonna be on a different spectrum from me. Yeah. You've got self-interest for Jewish interest because you are Jewish.
It's not just Jews.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying. Okay, so all minority groups. Let's say you've got a sympathetic approach for them because you are a minority.
So here's my problem. Or if I were Steve, and that portable orange guy, I might try to debate him sometime in the next month or so, because I got too busy before the holidays. But he wants to do that conversation. It'd be like a very similar conversation. But what I will do, and what Steve Laws could do here, to not be so much on the back foot all the time, is to just talk about the problems of immigration and press Andrew Gold of why do you support this, right? So the study was done in the UK, so it's perfect, about the juries and how black people convict white people, right? So pull that. So he should be attacking Andrew Gold on that stuff. He's like, look, this is a study. It shows that statistically, if I'm on a jury or if I'm accused of a crime I didn't commit, black people will send me to jail, and they won't convict guilty black people. So why should I want black people in my country? And then make Andrew Gold defend why it's okay. If you love the so-called British culture, like you said, and you support the legal system and all of this stuff, then why is it okay to have a group of people who ruin the system just by their presence? And make him defend stuff like that, and make him explain why that should be tolerated. Right? Because what Andrew Gold is doing is he's saying, Oh yeah, I agree. People who behave poorly, like we got to judge them on their behavior. And it's like, well, look, these are like statistical facts about these groups and about, that's just one, there's a whole bunch of stuff like that. That's one example, right? Instead of just showing up and being like, look, mate, I don't like foreigners, simple as, bring some ammo with you. Bring some ammo with you to hit him with and say, why do you support this? Why do you support a legal system that is ruined by the presence of blacks, as proven by this study, et cetera, et cetera?
Group. So you put yourself in a similar category to them. Whether you like to admit it or not, you see yourself as other.
Look, the same goes for you. I get it, and you feel scared and you feel trapped and you're looking around going, shit, this is changing. And I agree with you. It is scary and it has happened too fast and things need to be done about that.
Fast.
But if I'm seeing someone who is motivated not by facts, but by fear, and it's just completely undoable and it goes completely against British, what I would
Right, again,
do.
if you had a bunch of ammo with you prepared, then that would be facts, right? I brought this up in the my racism video, but another thing I would say is like I said, like look at New York. Look, you have a guy who says we're going to tax whites, and then you have his supporters saying, I can't wait to stick it to white people. And so it's, again, as a white person, why should the GDP, and by the way, accepting that all these all this immigration is good for the GDP, I don't even believe that. But it's a very like difficult thing to argue. And that's what they say. That's what supporters say. They say it's good for the economy. So let's just say, okay, I accept that. These people want to vote against me, and they're going to use their animosity, their anti-white animosity to like elect people to take shit from me. Why should the GDP be more important to me than the fact that as soon as we're a minority, we're going to get outvoted by racial blocs who want to take our shit? So that's like another piece of ammo, and then have him defend that. Because it's not individuals. You need to if you want to be a collectivist, as Sargon of Akkad would say, you need to attack them on a collective level. Otherwise, he's just going to make you look like a weird, intolerant bigot who doesn't know anything and who has these weird made up beliefs. You have to bring some examples of the problems with these group dynamics.
British values of fairness and equality.
Those fairness and equality values of what led our people to be demographically replaced in our homeland. It's what's led to the rape gangs. It's what's led to the drug gangs. It's what's led to the assaults and the murders of our people. That's why
that was perverted fairness.
It doesn't matter. It's still what led to it.
No, but it wasn't what I'm talking about though. That wasn't liberalism and how it should be carried out. That wasn't my idea of what a liberal society is. That was basically communism, or social communism of some sort. That was people going equity. That was people bringing people in and denigrating our own culture and saying to those people that their culture is better and we must celebrate them. Instead of saying to them, if you come here,
No. It's, you brought in a bunch of people and they're all rapists, and the ones who aren't rapists are going to run cover for the ones who are, as a community, including like the wives and the cousins of the, like, it's so foreign. It's so completely unlike the way any white people behave. And so I would stress that. I'd be like, look, man, it's not just that there was individual rapists and that the police looked the other way because they were being racist. The whole community acts together as an ethnic enclave to cover up their crimes because they're acting in their ethnic interests. This is why liberalism doesn't work, because people do not behave as individuals. They behave as groups.
Assimilate to this.
I don't
and
believe
if you really were against that, then there's this like the paradox of liberalism in the Andrew Gold sense of the term is that it only works with white people, but to enforce that is illiberal, right? So that's the paradox. White people are the only liberals, But if you say, oh, we can't bring in big groups of browns because that will destroy liberalism, then that's like illiberal. So you have to bring them in and just let liberalism die. That's the paradox, right?
I don't think it happens. Integration is a complete myth.
Yeah, it's hard.
If you walk around certain areas of London, like the Jewish areas, like they're not integrated. Like you can say that yourself. Like you dress more like an Englishman than most of your people.
Hang on,
but you've got an idea about
PIWLL be back Thursday at 100%.
Good night, Ked. Appreciate the support, buddy. I don't know why you're drinking on a Tuesday afternoon or whatever, but cheers.
Most of the people, because again, you're seeing those guys who are the nutters wearing the black hats and all those kinds of things. I never met.
It's a poison pill. Yeah, I mean, that's true. According to the learned elders of Zion and their protocols, liberalism is a poison pill invented by Jews to destroy the Gentiles. So hard to argue with the results.
One of those guys growing up in my life.
I'm not saying you have. I'm not assuming that. I'm not assuming anything about
we're
your
very
life.
different.
Yes,
so
but what
those guys don't assimilate, and I agree with you.
And there's not just those groups. We could go into Indians. We could go into Muslims. We could go into travellers. There's all various different groups. They just stick amongst their own. I live in a town called Folkestone. Just over from me is a little small town called Cheriton. That's where the Gurkhas are based. And they have taken over a whole portion of that town. They have their own shops, they have their own schools, they have their own, even like money shops and so forth. Like it's all built around them. They keep themselves to themselves. And like, I'm not saying these are horrible people. They serve in the army and so forth, but they should still be going home because they're taking over areas of our country, claiming it for their own.
Yeah.
And it's just like a foreign enclave.
Look, I have sympathy with a lot of those thoughts. I do, and I think the Civ Nats or whatever do have crossover with the Ethnats. You know, I think there's a crossover in. Shit, man, you know, and a lot of what you're saying visibly.
My position is a reaction to the problems that are at hand.
Yeah,
that's a fair assessment.
But it's not realistic.
It doesn't matter whether you agree with it's realistic
no, it's
or not.
No one agrees with that.
Who you say no one? That's a complete lie.
Almost no one. You were not even in Homeland anymore because you're too extreme for them.
No, I left Homeland because it completely imploded.
But wasn't it? I read it was because a gay guy was involved.
It's not just because of a gay guy. There was massive problems internally from top to bottom. But yes, the one that brought onto the timeline was the gay drama that sort of escalated the whole situation. But that wasn't the founding reason for it destroying. There was fundamental issues with the remigration policies, with the direction we was going as a party, who we're going to appeal to and so forth. Whereas, for instance, the leadership of the Homeland Party wanted to appeal to the moderates. And I said, no, we should build up a baseline of nationalists first and then appeal out to the centre grounds, because without having a core activist base and ideology built up for the party, it's going to collapse when you bring in all of these people for the big tent when everyone doesn't really agree on it.
Smart and correct. And not only that, but when you have that core support group, it signals to normies that like, oh, this is actually okay for me to believe. You know what I mean? Because most people are like fairly conformist. So it's all about trying to reach that critical mass, right? So you can't go out as a small, just starting out party and be like, okay, we're going to appeal to the moderates, but we're actually radical. To me, there's nothing radical about loving your own people. That's like kind of, that framing is really frustrating that we've been forced to accept that. But putting that aside, yeah, if you're just like look like a little fringe group, that's what you're going to look like. So you have to build up a group of people who are about it, you know, who are real niggas, who are on the right page. And once you have enough of them, then you can start to get people to be like, oh, you know, I've always actually wanted this. I just didn't want to like get ostracized from my community. But if this is acceptable, then cool. Yeah, let's get the foreigners out.
Have people that were Zionist, and we'd have people that weren't Zionist. We'd have people that sort of were like pagans, and we'd have people that were Christians. And
yes, thank you, Metal Nick. Yeah, he was just he was getting rocked a little bit, and as somebody who has been in these debates, I know that it's hard.
So forth, and all of these people have different.
It's a lot easier when you're watching than when you're in it. There's like an added pressure.
Goals at the end of the day. So getting this big tent of organisations is why it collapsed amongst itself.
There aren't enough people who simply agree with all of your causes. It's never going to work. That's the point.
So this is the thing he keeps coming back to, and I was going to say this earlier because he keeps like, well, what are you going to do? How like people aren't going to support it? They're going to riot. It's going to be a civil war. And really, all Steve Laws has to say here is like, well, look, man, I'm not getting like geared up and going door to door to deport people tomorrow. My job is to convince people that they should support this, right? So that whole argument of like, there's not enough people supporting you. All you have to say to that is like, that's what I'm here to change. That's it. You don't have to be like, well, look, we're going to make it happen whether they like it or not.
A lot of people who will
at the
Tommy.
moment, no. But there was a lot of people that wouldn't move towards Tommy's position when he first started out. And now look, everyone's anti-Muslim and so forth. So to say it's not going to happen is ridiculous.
Yeah, I can't imagine it happening.
Yeah, I know you can't because it would mean you'd leave the country. You can't envision that.
You know what? It's funny you say that because when I first started thinking about this idea, it didn't even occur to me that it might be Jews as well. I just thought black people from various other places, and that horrified me in itself. It horrifies me.
I don't discriminate. I don't discriminate on who I'm removing. I'm not. This is something like this is the thing. Like I'm not going right just because you're black. All blacks have got to go. Everyone else is fine. Or all Indians
would you
have got
test
to go.
some people?
No.
So how would you know?
What do you mean? How would you know?
Okay, so my name's Gold. That's how you know I'm Jewish. There's plenty of people who I know who are Jewish who do not have Jewish names. You wouldn't know they're not Jewish. What would you do?
There'll be records.
There'll be records. No, not always.
Well, mostly. They will mostly be records.
Christopher Hitchens. He didn't know he was Jewish.
Chicken dick. Pull your pants down, mate.
Until he was...
Let's see your foreskin. Foreskin check.
In his 50s or something, and he found out that his mum had hid that she was Jewish.
Yeah.
Right? What would we do with Hitchens? Would he be kicked out?
Yeah.
This is mental. And was he
total remigration? Everyone has to go
after he found out. How would you have found out?
Yeah. Hitchens is like a mass. First of all, I don't know what percentage Jewish Hitchens was, but I mean that doesn't surprise me that much. It's because funny. Hitchens is like a hero. He's like the big like atheist here. Like they love him so much, but like Hitchens was not that great. Kind of sucked actually. I've thought about doing a video takedown of Hitchens, but it's like, what's the point?
His mum had hidden it his whole life.
Total remigration is my line, right?
Yeah, but you won't know.
And it's complicated. It's complicated. Yes, and there would be an awful lot of work and research that would have to go in to find out who would have to be removed and so forth. And the easiest way to do
this is like saying Hitchens would get deported. You're going to lose so many people there. How Jewish is he anyways? I don't think that was like that's going to like work. Grok, how Jewish is Christopher Hitchens?
Well, Christopher Hitchens wasn't Jewish at all, religiously or ethnically. He grew up in a pretty standard Anglican family in England. Dad in the Navy, mom who later killed herself after converting to Catholicism.
Grok, hold on. Grok, think harder. Search hard for Christopher Hitchens Jewish.
Okay, yeah, I stand corrected after digging deeper. Christopher Hitchens discovered at age 38 that his mother, Yvonne, was Jewish. Her parents were Jewish. Specifically, his maternal grandmother, Dorothy, was born to a Jewish family from Poland and Germany. By traditional Jewish law, matrilineal descent, that makes him Jewish ethnically, even though he didn't know it growing up. His family hid it to avoid anti-Semitism, and he was a hardcore atheist who never practiced. In his memoir, Hitch 22, he talks about being kind of pleased when he found out, and he sometimes leaned into it culturally, or jokingly, like visiting someone, but religiously, zero.
His mother claimed he was 25% Jewish according to his memoir.
When it suited his arguments. So, Jewish by blood on his
Yeah. What if you had to like guess the percentage of Jewish ethnicity or Jewish DNA, what would you guess?
Since his mom was fully Jewish, Polish and German roots on her side, and his dad was English Anglican, non-Jewish, I'd ballpark it at 50% Ashkenazi.
Well, hold on, but you said his mom's mom, but what about his mom's dad? Like, what about his maternal grandfather? Was he Jewish? It should be 25%, right?
No, it's still 50% from his mom's side. His maternal grandmother, Dorothy Levin, was fully Jewish. His maternal grandfather, Eric Ernest Hickman, was a non-Jewish Englishman who converted to Judaism when he married Dorothy.
Oh my God, stupid bitch. I said DNA. Anyway, whatever. If you tell people Hitchens is getting deported for being Jewish, you're gonna lose so many people. I think you have to I don't know, man. It's a tough sell. It's a tough sell. Most people aren't really ready for the JQ at that level. Although I do admire how Steve just bites bullets like that, but it's not going to work.
Right.
That's the easiest way to go.
Medical records.
Yeah, medical records, because everyone's information already stored. There's more information on medical records than there are on immigration data or your national insurance and so forth.
You have no worries about the kind of authoritarianism required by a government that would have to be able to look into everybody's medical records and check exactly their ethnicity makeup.
The extreme position is, are people being demographically replaced in our homeland? Anything we have to do to reverse that is okay with me.
So how much English, and by that I suppose you mean Anglo-Saxon and Celtic and Norman blood, how do they have to have in them to stay?
I wouldn't do it down to percentage.
Then what?
So I'd do it from your parents and their parents and their parents. And by
their parents have 60% and their grandparents have got 50 and 80 and all that.
So this is the thing. When people start asking these questions, they're coming down more radical than I am. You're coming from a far more radical approach than what I even present. Because you're saying, right, let's go down the argument of let's find this percentage and let's do this and let's do that. And I'm saying let's just go through from their parents and their parents and their parents.
But what does that mean?
What does that mean?
It doesn't
Everyone
mean
knows
anything.
Yes, it does.
What are their parents? Okay, let's imagine I think all my life I'm pure English. I'm Anglo-Saxon.
Yeah, but you know you're not.
Imagine it. Okay, my name's Bob and I'm from Manchester and blah, blah, whatever.
Yeah.
And I find out that actually my parents, we did an ethnicity test on them and they're one of them's 50% English and actually 60% Irish, or 50% Irish, sorry. And one of them's got 20% from Spain or some such thing. How do you work all of this out?
I thought he said he was 100% Ashkenazi earlier.
First off, they're all European. So that's not an issue to me.
Okay, so European's fine.
Overall, I wouldn't want millions of Germans.
So you are
I wouldn't want
Jews.
millions. No.
But they're European.
I would argue they're not.
No, you can't argue they're not. They are.
I don't believe you're European.
Why not?
Same way that I wouldn't class Albanians as European.
Okay, but Ashkenazi Jews are European.
Not to me.
So here we go. You sort of when you talk about this, you get an aggressive look in your eye.
I don't mean it aggressively. I'm just answering you bluntly.
I've noticed a few times you shake your leg and get aggressive when we talk about Jews being European or whatever. There's clearly a very strong emotion in you, and I get it, and I get that these things are scary.
You keep using the scary argument as if what do you mean by scary?
I think it makes you very angry because you're scared and defensive. It's scary. Well, look, it is scary not just for you. It's scary for me seeing what's happening to this country, and it can sometimes lead to us to react in very emotional ways instead of actually looking at hard, cold facts. All I'm hearing is emotion, and you cannot have someone just run totally on emotion, and that's why people are not following you enough, and that's why they won't. There has to be some rationalization. There has to be some reason involved, some logic.
All your logic and argument comes back to is Jews can stay in England. That's always your position. That's all you care
about.
It's
the canary in the coal mine of your ridiculous philosophy.
No, but all I'm saying is your position is Jews can stay in England. Jews are English. Jews this. Jews that. That's your position.
Let me add, blacks can stay in England.
We've been here for about 40 minutes, and for a half hour of it, we've been talking about Jews.
Hang on, I've talked about John Barnes. I've talked about
That's totally accurate. It's this. They've spent so much time talking about Jews, and it's like I said, it's kind of because this is like a really hard sell to the normie public, which is why also because he's Jewish, which Steve just pointed out, which is funny because it's true. Like, he's so self-interested, like the proof is in the pudding in that sense, but also it's a very hard sell to the normies to be like, we're going to kick out Christopher Hitchens for being 25% Ashkenazi. Like, that's a very hard sell.
Briefly, but mostly we've been here talking about Jews for about half hour, and it's all been inherently biased on your part because you are Jewish.
Right.
You want Jewish people to remain in this country.
It's not biased on my part. I'm just giving you facts.
You're Jewish.
I gave you facts about the concentration camp, the logs that the Nazis kept, and you're coming back with just complete bananas.
No, you're coming back with emotional nonsense that
I'm giving
Jews
you
should
stats.
remain in the country.
I don't feel emotional. I'm not shaking my leg and jumping around.
I just have a twitch. That's all it is.
The twitch only comes up when Jews are mentioned. You didn't twitch at all the other times. So I think there's an issue there, and it's emotional.
No, because what you're trying to do is paint a narrative of me, is to create that what I'm saying is inherently retarded, and the position you're going to present is never going to happen because this and this and this. But in reality, you haven't actually presented an argument why it's not going to happen other than the English people will not agree on it. And you can't say that the English people will ever not agree on that position because you cannot define what's going to happen in the future. You have no control over that.
Okay, fine. I do think you're right. I think it is inherently retarded. And I think you don't have the facts. And
see, whereas really I would argue that the future of my people, the line I take, the position I want for my future, and my children's future and their children's future is not retarded. And just because you're Jewish...
Yeah, the one big... I've said this already, I'm just repeating myself, but Steve Laws, and I don't know if you're watching, Steve, but your one big takeaway from this is that you need to be more on the offensive with these people. And you know, again, I would just say to the guy, let's look at this study. Black people cannot be unbiased on juries, so why do you support that? Now, you explain why this has to be tolerated when it's clearly a racial issue, right? And bring as much stuff like that as you can to the table and make him explain why things that are obviously bad need to be tolerated.
And you disagree with the stance I'm taking.
I think you focus too much on ethnicity instead of culture.
And I would argue that you focus too much on culture. Where does culture come from?
Sometimes from ethnicity, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but then you have to judge people based on actions, I think.
Yeah, but then if you're judging everyone on actions, that's how rape gangs happen. That's how people get murdered. That's how Southport happens.
And if you judge just on ethnicity or race and not culture,
that prevents that.
That starts the Holocaust, for example. So it makes sense for you.
You say that starts the Holocaust,
that starts slavery.
The Holocaust, for me, is what's happening to the British people. We're being demographically replaced in our homeland. That is a Holocaust to me. You might not like me using that term.
I don't mind.
My people are being raped.
Hang on, I don't care.
Okay, well, sorry.
I'm not emotional.
I'm not trying to put words into your mouth.
Yeah, you use any words you want. I hate that kind of shrill.
Well, that's good to know then. Fair enough. Yeah, right? I won't. But what I'm saying is,
still stupid what you're saying.
To me, it's a Holocaust because my people are being demographically replaced. We're being raped. We're being murdered. We're being pillaged. Okay, so to me, this is my Holocaust. So when people bring up the issues of the Holocaust in the past and stuff, it's not something I even...
So we still haven't gotten to the quote, but I know it's coming at some point where perhaps very shortly it's coming, where Andrew Gold says, like, white people are going to go extinct. It's just a matter of fact. There's nothing we can do about it. And he just called Steve Laws stupid for saying my people are being holocausted, right? Which obviously that's what that means, I guess, if it means anything. Interesting.
Really talk about.
I might later today, like clip just because I know he says that. I've seen it on Twitter. So just put those two things side by side. Like here he is calling Steve Laws stupid for saying his people are being holocausted. And here he is 2 minutes later saying white people are going extinct. There's nothing you can do about it.
But I just generally don't care.
Yeah.
Because it's not my concern right now. That's happened over around 90 years ago. And to me, I'm in the present. And in the present at the moment.
When you say things like that about the numbers, it doesn't help your argument because it makes you just look like a nutter.
I was asked, do I believe the numbers by Liam? And I said no. That was it. That was it. You're making a whole thing on a throwaway comment, which I generally do not trust the narrative. I don't think that the lampshades and the soaps and stuff is true.
Is it just I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
No, exactly. So this is my point.
Only because I don't know enough about that aspect of it.
So I don't trust the narrative at all. And the people that are presenting this in the Hollywood films that push these arguments and stuff, it's just nonsense.
Well, the Hollywood films are based on anecdotes of real people. I have met people who are Holocaust.
Everything's dramatized.
So what are you? But this is what I don't get when people say, like, I don't trust I don't trust all that. What is the point you were trying to make? That Hitler should probably have done what he did anyway, but I don't believe he did it. Like, why does it matter?
I was asked if I'd gassed a Jew with Liam. I said no. I'm not going to gas people. I don't want to kill.
Gas.
I don't want to kill anyone.
Yeah.
I just want people to get out of my country.
Yeah.
I'm not advocating a mass slaughter of people. I don't think that's the approach that anyone should advocate for.
Can you see how someone like, just some blind... It's not fair that Ian Wright's always mentioned, but if someone like
he
that...
probably gets fed up with it.
I know, but everyone just loves that guy, apart from Ennio Luco, right? But I don't know if you followed that. But Ian Wright... I don't know where his parents are from. Let's say a black guy who does have grandparents in this country, great-grandparents in this country. They're just proper English. They don't speak some other language from some other place. They don't know some... How can you make that person go and live in the middle of nowhere when these are lovely, nice people?
Very easily. I don't get caught up in the emotional nonsense.
But do you have empathy? Do you have empathy?
I feel like
I
feel these people are victims of immigration, and it's not nice that they're going to have to be removed from the homeland. And a lot of people have, for instance, built their lives here. Some of them are loved by the population and so forth. Others are not. But that's irrelevant. The future of my people comes first. I'm not getting caught up in the emotional nonsense of he's a nice one or he's a nice one. It doesn't mean anything to me. And that's my personal opinion. You may not agree
I think
with
it should do. I think it should.
I just generally don't care. I've had enough now. I've seen the rapes. I've seen the murders. I've seen the demographic replacement of my people, and I've had enough. I want everyone gone. And until that's happened, that's always going to be my position. You can call it radical. You can call it unrealistic. You already have. But to me, it's not. That's my position. And you may find it harsh, you may think it's unapologetic, and it is a little bit. But at the end of the day, what's worse is my people becoming a minority in our homeland, having no control over our destiny, having no control over our future. And then that's it. There's no England. Without the English, there's no England. And that's the direction we're heading. And the only way to reverse this, because you've already said yourself that it's probably beyond the point of being reversed, in other words, not those words exactly, but the only way to reverse this is a radical approach. It's going to have to be firm, it's going to have to be harsh, and it's going to have to be radical. And it's the only way to reverse this.
What do we do with mixed race kids?
I've already said this, deport, but I'd send their families with them. I wouldn't just randomly deport a kid on their own. The families would be going together.
Is a man who has a black wife, say, is he a traitor to the English race?
I don't think he's a traitor. I think he's been led astray. It depends. If they're endorsing for more people to do it and they're actively calling for more immigration, then yes, they're a traitor. But if they've just been caught up in the society of what they've been forced upon, then yeah, they're not necessarily a traitor. It's not something I would encourage, though. I don't think you should be race mixing and so forth. But I wouldn't say you're a traitor because you've had sex with a black woman. I would just say you've been misguided, you've been manipulated by the system at play, and it's wrong.
But presumably you don't like collective punishment when it's applied to white people, right? So it's this idea that, like, because men commit many more, all the rapes, for example, that men are all a bunch of rapists, that kind of thing. Why is it okay? And also that white people have had an advantage, all those kinds of things, which I think are ridiculous in this woke world that we live in. Why is it okay to then apply collective punishment to other?
I would just instantly disagree with that and say, no, men are the most rapey group of people, like in terms of gender, and that's why we split genders, and like that's why we don't have mixed bathrooms, because men are rapists. I think you can look at the fact that men commit rape, and you can reach some logical policy conclusions from that, like we should have separate bathrooms and private areas. We should be careful about private areas that might give men an opportunity to rape. If there's a Girl Scouts, we probably shouldn't have male leaders in Girl Scouts, just like we shouldn't have gay leaders in Boy Scouts because of rape. So no, I totally I would just bite the bullet and be like, no, there are ways you can have you can draw policy conclusions from that information that makes sense.
Ethnicities.
Because every nation should be able to protect their own.
Tip Respector sent $3, LP. My wife wants to circumcise our sons, and I am considering getting an adult circumcision in solidarity. Thoughts on circumcision?
Yeah, do it.
So the collective punishment, if, like, for instance, let's use the argument Pakistanis. Overwhelmingly, the majority of Pakistani of rape gangs are Pakistanis. Most people would agree with that, right?
Yeah, the pro rata, yeah.
Yeah. So to use the argument,
I would go further in some ways. I would say we should have separate classrooms for boys and girls. Like I would actually have more gender separation than what we currently have.
Now all Pakistanis should leave, because of rape gangs. I don't think that's an extreme position. What those people have done to our people since they've been in the country, and this isn't just a recent phenomenon, this has been going on since the 60s, the 50s, like since they first arrived in our country. So collective punishment on those as a people, yes, that should happen. There are tens of thousands of raped children that their community kept silent on. They didn't address the situation. They didn't try to bring these people to justice. They just swept it all under the rug. Of course, some of our people helped them as well, and they should be, personally, I would hang them, but they should spend the rest of their life in jail under the current system. So those
you'll get me with the Islam stuff. Because I fundamentally...
Black men,
you guys are
sent
obviously
$3. Were you circumcised?
It's kind of personal, but no, I'm not. And neither is my son, if it makes you feel better.
The Islam than I am, I suppose, because obviously the situations around your history.
To be Jews, yeah.
Yeah. So, but ultimately, I don't focus just on the Islam. Of course, yeah, they are a huge problem, but so are the African gangs in London. Like the two recent terrorist attacks, the train and... I can't remember off the top of my head now.
Sure.
Yeah, but like the two recent attacks, they were Africans. They were not...
I've said this before, but since people are bringing it up, I'll say it again. I would outlaw circumcision, but not because I think that it's mutilation or whatever shit you guys want to say. I would outlaw it because it makes the country less hospitable to Muslims and Jews. And I would make sure that that once it was outlawed, that Muslims and Jews were put in jail if they practiced it. That's why I would do it for, cultural, ethnic reasons, not because I think that it's inherently evil or whatever.
They were not Islamics. They were not even like religious themselves. They may even be Christian.
Yeah, we have a problem. We do have an issue, and this is what I try to address on heretics every week. I think there's a difference in how we feel it's still not authoritarian to deal with this. And I would say, look, if we're having a lot of problem with the Pakistani Muslim community, the way to do it is to deport any criminals involved in any of this, absolutely, and to stop having more immigration from those places.
So, I'll just take it back to the collective punishment. The Palestinians, Hamas who attacked Israel. Do you think the collective punishment on Palestine is justified?
No, not really, but it's a war. That's war, unfortunately.
Yes, but it is collective punishment though, isn't it? You was attacked on October 7th.
Actually, international law distinguishes collateral. It's actually collateral civilian harm, and in a war, like that's okay. So,
and
this is not an easy.
Right, okay, so Pakistanis rape white girls, so we say now we're at war. Okay. If you call it a war, that's different. You just call it a war. Then you get to do what you want. That's awfully convenient. Jews get to do what they want because they call it a war. They get to kill as many kids as they want because actually, according to international law, that's not a collective punishment. When you carpet bomb civilians, that's just collateral damage. Oh, so the Holocaust wasn't a collective punishment because it was war.
These are difficult philosophical questions.
So this is the thing. Like your people are collectively punishing people right now, but me suggesting it is about in the UK is all of a sudden
it's at war with a different nation, and
doesn't matter.
Rules, yeah, of course it does. Of course it does.
It's not a fair war. It's not a fair war at all. You're bombing children.
Unfortunately, that's happened, and that's massive fault for putting them in the way.
That is a bummer. They're killing a bunch of kids, but again, it's war. So, killing kids for Jews, it's okay when Jews kill kids, but it's not okay when you deport people back to their country. Killing kids, bummer. Got to do what you got to do when you're at war. Deporting rapists and the people and their family members, that's immoral.
The bombs, what do you do with that?
So you're okay, but this is the thing, you're okay with collective punishment.
I don't think I am, but it's an interesting point. I think it's really hard to get to those. What do you do with that? What do you do when
Exactly.
it's a war?
So from the Israeli perspective, whether I agree or disagree is irrelevant.
Well, do you agree with that?
No. I don't think you should be bombing children like you are. You're flattening their country. Of course, you can
Well, I thought
retaliate.
you were
You can
for
retaliate.
collective punishment.
You can retaliate when you're attacked, right?
Yeah. Well, they've done that 100 times, and they keep getting attacked and killed.
And now you've flattened their homeland, and there are loads of dead children.
Unfortunately, that's what's happened. I mean, Israel pulled out of Gaza 20 years ago and just got constantly attacked by Palestine.
But Israel's also expanded multiple times since it's founded.
It only expanded after being attacked, and that was to take advantageous positions, such as on mountains, so you can see where you're being attacked from. Doesn't mean that the settlers haven't been wrong. Many of the settlers who have moved into these places. Israel's probably one of the most complicated geopolitical issues in the world, so we're not going to be able to solve it in 2 or 3 minutes.
Of course not.
There's no easy answers. I know YouTube wants easy answers, and they want me to say, like, what should, but what do you do if you're an Israeli at the same time? You've got to protect Israeli people like you want to do here.
Now I'm an Englishman.
I just find it really interesting how it's like, okay, so Hamas comes in and kills people, and then that's an attack. But when a white person gets murdered every day by a black person, that's just crime. Why? How is it different though? Really, what's the difference?
English girls I'm seeing English girls get raped and abused. And
to quote Piers Morgan, what's the difference to the victims?
So forth by this demographic, and I'm saying.
See, I see myself as English as well, so I get hurt by that as well. I know you don't see me as English. I do see myself as English. I know even people on my own side of this do not, and I respect their opinions as well, because English can mean, I believe, 2 different kinds of things. I think a cultural identity and a feeling, like Tommy would say, if you think you're English, and all of that.
I completely disagree, though.
Yeah, but unfortunately, like, if we were going to have this kind of war or this battle that you're talking about, where we have, like, we need to, go for whatever we want English values to be, you would find yourself with a lot of Jews, black people, Asians on your side, and a lot of white English on the other side against you and us.
Yeah, no, I understand the complex of the situation. I understand everything is very complex. There are different factions all over the place creating all sorts of problems. But my line still remains the same, regardless of all the noise going on around me.
Yeah.
And you've also pretty much agreed that you're okay with collective punishment to an extent, if it means it threatens Israel.
In war. War. And if Britain were at war, I agree with the same on
what
Dresden.
happened to October 7th, right?
Yeah.
Led to you attacking them, right?
Not me attacking them.
No, but your people, okay?
I don't see them as my people because I don't think ethnically the same way as you do.
Okay, well, that's how I see it. So I'll just use that as a.
It led to those people attacking.
Yeah, it led to those people attacking them, right?
To root out Hamas.
And how many of those terror attacks have happened in the UK?
No, well, look, absolutely.
And are we not justified to go, right? These immigrants have done too much damage in our country now. I think it's time they leave. We're not sitting here. Actually, I think it's time we go and flatten their homeland and destroy all of their kids. No, we're just saying let's just send them home. We're not even going that far.
This is exactly what I was saying.
There isn't a home.
Yeah, but you're not at war, mate. It's not a war.
There is a home, though.
So I get the feeling. I get wanting to do that. I understand.
Where's there not a home for someone to go to?
Because there isn't. Those kids only ever knew England.
It doesn't matter.
Their parents often only knew England.
It doesn't
Their
matter.
grandparents knew England.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
But I think you struggle to empathise with people like that. I know plenty of people like that. Well, I suppose myself included, though I never even thought I was part of that discussion. But so many people like that who are just like, the idea of sending them to where? Some random country?
So here's the crazy thing.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, it's so absurd to send this person to a country they've never been to. But the idea of bringing...
If, let's say, some weird alternate timeline where Anglos were like a real minority in North America, and North America was actually like... whatever... all German. I know there's a lot of Germans, but ideally it would be non-white to make the point. Let's say North America was made by Asians, and it was like 90% Asian, and then they said, "Okay, you're going back to England." I wouldn't be like, England, some weird place that I have no connection. It's like, no, that's like my ancestral homeland. I want to go there to visit in the same way that Steve Gold has gone to Israel twice to visit because I have a connection to the place. He's acting like it's some totally disconnected, weird foreign thing. No, if we were a tiny minority here and the people who built the country were like, it's time for you to leave because multiculturalism is causing too much problems. My only complaint about getting sent to England would be that there's too many non-English people there. That's the only reason I wouldn't want to go to England.
Bringing them here to a country they've never been to is fine.
But they didn't. They were born here, the ones we're talking about.
Yeah, but their parents or their grandparents brought them over.
Yeah.
And they came to a country that they'd never been to before.
Yeah.
And it's abhorrent. How can they go to a country that they've never been to?
As happened with the Normans, as happens with Celts and Anglo-Saxons.
So using this argument that they've never been in that land before is ridiculous.
That they're using this argument they've never been here before. Oh, in the other land. Yeah, but they moved here because they wanted to move here.
Yeah, but we didn't want them here. It was against our will. No British people have ever, other than the small minority that work in these NGO factions and stuff, no British people have asked for more immigrants. No British people have ever asked for any of this. It's been forced upon us.
Many British people have asked for it. Loads and loads and loads of British people. These are the people that we complain about every day. Come on.
Small minority groups.
Not small minorities, there's loads of them.
The overwhelming majority of the English people have never ever asked for more immigration. They don't want it. If they was given the choice to ask without any consequences, and it was anonymously, the overwhelming majority would say they want them gone.
Yeah, there's been too much immigration, unfortunately. I think the overwhelming majority would say they wouldn't want to push people out who were born here. We know that for a fact.
I'd say the position most people would be at is they would want to stop immigration at the moment, deport all the illegals and foreign criminals, and maybe some of the dangerous ones that they don't trust, probably like all the Muslims and stuff, right? That's about as far as the public would go at the moment.
Push out dangerous people based on their actions.
At the moment.
That's a huge jump.
At the moment.
A jump to then just getting innocent people and kicking them out. I would like to think that the British people will never do that.
Yeah, you'd like to think that.
Yeah.
Because it's self-interest for you,
and because there's no evidence to show that that otherwise you would have loads of support. You're a well-spoken person. You're quite bright. You've got Twitter and all that. You should have more people following you than Tommy Robinson. If there was any chance of this happening, they're not into it. They don't want it.
Tommy Robinson is an activist that's been been around for around 15, 20 years almost. He's also internationally known. So, and I'm relatively new to the scene. So arguing that I should be bigger is a bit silly.
Well, you'd have some amount of...
I've got 127,000 followers. I've got more than you, and you've been around longer.
I've only started the last couple of years as well.
So there you go. But you've also had the platform with BBC and so forth pushing you. I've had none of that.
No, I haven't had them pushing me.
You have over your career, though. Over your career, you've had the chance to be on the BBC and so forth.
I sold one documentary to them, and then they told me because I was a white man, I wasn't allowed to do more.
Should have told them you was Jewish.
I did tell them that. They laughed and said, get out of here. I eventually told them that, but I hated the idea that they would even have given me a job because of a minority or whatever. It's the most absurd thing that could ever happen. It's ridiculous. So, and I'm sure we agree on that.
But using back to the argument that I should have a bigger platform.
Okay, so that's his origin story as a heretic, is that he was like discriminated against for being white. Got it. I hate all the problems, but I would never, ever, ever do anything to fix it.
Until going on, like, for instance, you've platformed me now, and Liam Tuss before. Before then, people wouldn't platform me. So you're saying you should have a bigger platform without being platformed. It's a bit difficult, like... Tommy Robinson is going
this
on
is
to,
a
like,
really stupid argument from Andrew Gold. This is like maybe the dumbest thing he's said yet. They're like, oh, well, you don't have enough followers, therefore your idea is not good.
On Good Morning Britain and stuff like that.
I suppose that's true.
It's a logical fallacy.
It's a difficult one, but I look, maybe I'm wrong, and people will let me know in the comments, and I think they'll probably be weighted towards you in some as they were in Liam's.
Well, we don't know. We've got different. You've got a completely different audience to Liam, so
it's not that different.
Oh, is it not?
No,
I thought yours was more centre grounds than.
We're quite similar, but I'm posher. So, yeah, Liam and I. It makes a difference, when Douglas Murray says what he says, it's much more acceptable than when Tommy Robinson says what he says. People are they're willing to accept ideas from posher sounding people, which is in itself a horrible bias.
Yeah.
So, it remains to be seen in the next few years if people do go for what you're saying. I think it's an emotional.
So, just a pushback on that.
Yeah, go on.
What's your position as a Jewish man in England? What would you like England to look like? If you had power tomorrow to make what you wished happen, how would you see it?
Do you know the Michaela School, Catherine Birbal Singh? She runs this school in Wembley. They've got, I think she says like 90% Muslims there. It's something mad.
Is that the one with the big frizzy hair?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. She is very, very nationalist for this country. She's not even from here. But she loves the country, she loves its history. She teaches it in a way where people can be proud of what they've assimilated into. And I think that
The answer here is English would be brown and Muslim, but also proud of being English. Wow.
That's
awesome.
Kind of a microcosm of what I want to see in Britain. It doesn't mean I don't worry. A lot of us do worry the same way you do about, gosh, all these different ethnicities who are going to have different ties to different tribes and different countries and things like that. But I think before even thinking about anything else, we've got to look at ourselves and go, why the hell have we been denigrating our own culture, our own history, only talking about, for example, on the BBC, extolling the bad parts of empire, for example.
It's like the madman meme. Okay, hear me out. Ethnic replacement, but with patriotism. That's what he's saying right now. Ethnic replacement, but it's patriotic.
Well, not what empire brought to the world and brought to people, and the good that we've done in this country. And telling people when they get here that we celebrate their culture more than our own. That is suicidal as a country. And I think that's what's led to the issues, and it's led to the concerns you have. And
so if you was in power, you would just change the culture?
I would incentivize British people, whatever that exactly means. We'd have to nail that down. But people from here who love this country to have more children.
Yeah, let's nail
so that
that
there isn't
down.
this constant stress on the economy whereby people think, I think wrongly, we have to bring in immigrants from other countries to support it. I would try
we
and make
already
it
know Konstantin Kissin's definition of British. It's somebody who supports homosexuality.
Acceptable for Christianity.
That's not a joke.
Thrive in this country.
I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but that's basically what he said.
Deport illegal immigrants. Stop the boats, obviously. Stop putting people in these kinds of hotels. Take away the ECHR as well, so that we can actually have the power to do some of these things. Loads of quite drastic measures that I think would rapidly change what's going on. But
that what you've just presented there would not reverse the demographic decline. Would still become a minority in our homeland.
At some point, unfortunately, white people, and I count myself among them, will become a minority and will probably go extinct.
We are a worldwide minority already, which is why I take the radical stance that the English...
Right, so there's the line I've been waiting for this whole time. And again, just earlier, Steve Laws said, my people are being holocausted. And he said, oh, that's a really stupid thing to say. And now he's like, well, you're going to go extinct. That's just, I don't like it. I'm not like happy about it, but hey, man, it is what it is. That's like whatever else he may have said where he made Steve look like shaky or anything like that. I don't know how you hear that and you don't think, well, like to hell with this guy then. It's such a hey, man, it's already over. I don't like it, but we're all going to have to die. There's no future for white people. Sorry. We lost. The white race lost. We just don't have the numbers. It's over, Steve. Fuck you. How? That's like the best argument you could make for everything Steve is saying.
Have the right to exist. We have the right to our own homelands. Everyone agrees on that, right?
Yeah,
that's the basis.
I think so. I think
that's the baseline.
It depends what you mean by English. That's the issue.
No, we already disagree on the meaning of English. So there's that. Okay, but ultimately, with the direction that the country's going, the future of our people is at stake. The most radical stance that we have to take to fix this is okay with me. I don't care what we have to do. I don't care who gets caught in the crossfires. I don't care how much damage gets done along the way, as long as the future of my people is secured. That's my line, and that's the hill I'm dying on. You may disagree with the approach, you may disagree with the argument. I generally don't care, and I don't mean that horribly. I mean, you've been polite enough to me since I've come on and so forth, but I just generally don't care. England belongs to the English. I want my country back, and I will die on that hill fighting for it.
Yeah, look, I've got sympathy for that, but as I said, without wanting to sound repetitive, I don't think you can define English easily enough. I think it's too difficult to do. It's too difficult to implement that. You didn't give me what I think would be a satisfying response to how we work out if someone's parents are sufficiently English and if their grandparents are sufficiently English. I think it's unworkable. And so if you actually want to affect change instead of wanting to look like you're affecting change, as the woke do, there's the horseshoe theory, and I feel like your side and their side want to look good to their people. We're going to do that. We have to look at what will actually work. And that will not work. You cannot go through a whole country and start finding their hospital records to know where they can.
I get what he's saying, that sounds weird to the average person. And it sounds even weird kind of to me to be like, well, we're going to it would be more straightforward to just say we're going to DNA test everyone. That would sound more practical than we're going to go through your hospital records and figure out who you are. But putting that aside, once you say white people are going extinct and that's just the conversation's over, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean it would just kill the country. It would become an authoritarian mess.
The only way to save this country is by being authoritarian. Otherwise, we lose this country. We lose it to all of these immigrant groups at the end of the day. And that, to me, is unacceptable. I don't care who gets upset about it. Yeah. I don't care who gets caught in the crossfire.
Yes, well, you want to fix it, but what if I call you authoritarian? What if I call you an ideologue? What if I call you a collectivist?
I don't care who cries about it. I don't care who has to get deported.
Yeah.
I want my country back. My people have the right to exist. That's my line.
Well,
all right. I think we get the idea. I'm gonna there's another 15 minutes. Well, I'm just getting tired. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm getting tired, and I do want to watch the Sargon thing, which thankfully is only 20 minutes. Oh, where did it go? Weird. I lost it. We're gonna move on here. What is this channel called? Here it is.
So I thought we'd have a talk about the Steve Laws issue, because he's been going on a few of the, I guess what we call CivNat podcasts recently, and they find his position just far too extreme, even though in some ways they do have some sympathies with it, as Andrew Gold points out, and he went on Liam Tufts' podcast the other day, and I think it's worth just having a chat about. It's just worth having a bit of an overview on what it is we're actually dealing with. Now, before we get into this conversation, I just want to caveat this with, I don't mind Steve. I've met him a few times. He seems like an all right guy to me on a personal level. And, I don't wish him ill or anything like that. But I think that people aren't understanding the position that Steve occupies in the discourse and what the purpose of what he does is. And they treat his opinions and desires with more weight than they deserve. Now, I'm not trying to sound offensive when I say that to anyone, but I think people are used to legislating from a fictional position. This position of, well, I would like X, Y, and Z, and that's what I'm asking for. And these people are everywhere, right? I mean, I'm not trying to be offensive when I say this, but Steve Laws occupies on the right the same sort of position that Greta Thunberg occupies on the left, or Zach Polanski, or Just Stop Oil. I mean, they make the most ridiculous demand of a thing that will just never happen. It's just never going to be that they get the things that they want. And that's what Steve does on the right. He makes the most extreme demand, because you can stick consistently to the most extreme demand. You can just say, well, I want every foreigner gone, total remigration, as he would put it. And that's just what I'm demanding. But then you end up in the sort of position where any amount of interrogation into that reveals that there isn't a plan there. It becomes kind of like Greta Thunberg saying, well, our job is not to provide solutions, it's just to demand them. It's like, okay, but if you actually don't have a plan for how that could happen, then it's just not going to happen, is it? And by staking out the most extreme position, it's a good way to gain notoriety, it's a good way to gain plaudits on Twitter, but it also does silo you off into a certain area that I think ends up being some sort of cul-de-sac. Because I think inherently people are for things they will find reasonable. Now, what they find reasonable changes based on their perspective, and based on the events that they're undergoing, that they're living through. But there are some things that just seem too unreasonable and will probably forever stay outside of the bounds of discourse. Now, I think that it is the case that...
Okay, so first of all, I don't think remigration is the most extreme position. It's maybe the most extreme position that you can have without getting banned. It's so in that sense, yes, it's the most extreme position you can have where they'll still let you have a Twitter account and so forth. I think that like Sargon and many people are underestimating the realism, the realistic, how much support there actually can be. People voted in Donald Trump in America because they want like 30, 40 million deportations. They voted for this in America. They want this. It's not some insane thing. I understand when you word it as like deport every single foreigner, that sounds extreme. And maybe there is an argument that he could put it forward in a way that doesn't sound quite so extreme. It's like I said when we were listening to the Andrew Gold convo, that really what people want is they want their country to put their interests first, right? Basically, they want their nation to not be an economic zone and to be concerned with the people, the specific people of that nation. And I think if you put it forward that way, it's maybe a little bit easier than saying, well, we just need to deport every non-ethnic English person. But I do think Sargon's underestimating.
$5. What happened to this guy? He needs to return.
I don't know what that is. Thank you for the $5 though.
That certain community.
Yeah, did you think it was Friday? Sorry, it's not $5 Fridays today.
Will just be told to leave wholesale from Britain because of the behavior on a wide scale of those communities. A good example of this at the moment is Somalians in America. This daycare scam thing where it's just like an incredible amount of fraud coming from this community. I think it's possible that Trump just says, no, Somalians have to leave because the entire community is in some way compromised.
God, I wish.
And in Britain, this probably will happen with the Pakistani community and rape gangs.
It's so funny because he just went from like, this is totally extreme. I guess it's like the Jews thing, like want to know. I guess that's really what Sargon's like, because he's basically now saying like, yeah, we can get rid of Pakistanis, but let's be realistic. Oh, Trump is not going to do that. And you can't do it until you have somebody who just says I'm racist. This is what I've been saying.
I think at some point it won't be Nigel Farage.
It would violate the Civil Rights Act. You can't do that.
But at some point, a right-wing government...
It's weird how he went from this is totally unrealistic to like, I think Trump's just going to kick out all the Somalis. He's not. I wish he would. He's not.
May well say, no, the community itself was participating in this, and therefore you have to leave.
Right.
But I think that saying every person who doesn't have two English parents has to leave is going to seem kind of ridiculous and will not be the sort of thing that's accepted. Like, for example, one of Steve Law's most extreme positions is that people who have an English mum or dad and a non-English mum or dad have to leave the country. And it's really quite hard to see from his own premise how he can derive that, because his argument is ethnicity is inherited from your parents and England belongs to the English. Two things I completely agree with, by the way. This is entirely correct. But from that, unfortunately for him, it does follow that people who have an English parent therefore inherit English ethnicity, and because they are ethnically English, they have a claim to England. So their claim, through his own logic, is just as strong as anyone else's, and it becomes an argument about purity and percentages, which he says multiple times, but especially in this podcast, he's not interested in becoming an ethnic or racial purist about these things, which, fair enough, it's sensible. So he holds a few positions that are a bit contradictory to his own principles, but also it's just not going to happen, right? In a practical way.
This part I agree with, but you could say that about anything. Like you could say, well, maybe more realistically, we should just make interracial marriage illegal, right? But that's not going to happen either. Lots of things aren't going to happen. At a certain point, you have to just not worry about what you can get a bunch of brainwashed people. You know, there's that saying people have been saying, like, you live in the most propagandized period of human history. And that's true. So at a certain point, you have to stop worrying about what you can get the most propagandized people in human history to accept and just focus on what is the right thing to do.
With Greta Thunberg's like, we need to stop all oil, or, you know, whatever. We need to say, you know, the planet's going to die tomorrow. It's just...
And I don't know that necessarily saying like we're going to deport mixed race families is even the right thing to do. So I'm not even necessarily saying that, but you have to do something. You have to do something to solve that identity problem. You can't just be like, oh, well, whatever. What can you do? That doesn't work. That just leads to more problems down the roads.
Position that I just don't think is going to happen. However, there are millions of people in Britain who just shouldn't be here. They were let in against our will, and that's been happening since the Windrush generation, but who also have not done anything to try and integrate, because they live in quite large now ethnic enclaves, what we could call colonies, that are not interested in becoming like us. He's talking here to Andrew Gold, and Andrew Gold, if you didn't know, by looking at him, you would not know that he is not English. He looks very native, he looks British, and he personally feels himself to be British. He is Jewish, but he doesn't want to live in Israel, he doesn't speak Hebrew, he's not, you know, a part of the culture of that. And so he's very focused on culture because he doesn't want to agree to a position that excludes himself, which is understandable. I mean, everyone would want to have some sort of politics that actually advantages them rather than disadvantages them. And that brings us to really the sort of core premise that underlies Steve Laws's position that I think is correct. And I think, just a quick aside as well, I think he's way too harsh on Tommy. I think that there's the sort of online right now...
I just don't buy it, right? Sargon should ask himself, like, if I was born in Japan and my parents spoke Japanese and I spoke Japanese as a first language, but ethnically I was English, would I consider myself to be you know what I mean? When Andrew Gold says he considers himself English, I don't believe it. Because it would be like me saying that I don't consider myself Anglo because I was born in Canada, but I am Anglo. That's just like it would be. I'm not Anglo. I'm Canadian. But it's like, no, you are. That's just like, it's not only is it like true. I don't know how to say it. It's not a question of feeling, but also like it's like the essence of what you are. So how can you not? Right? And then you see it through the revealed behavior where he's like, okay, well, I have visited Israel a couple times. Really? How many times have you been to like Burkina Faso? 0? Interesting. But you chose to go back to Israel a second time. There's got to be something there. There's some kind of connection there.
Narrative about Tommy is just too firm on the...
Well, I wouldn't say Anglos are Canadian. I would say Canadian are Anglo, which maybe is a meaningless distinction, but you know what I mean? Right. Yeah, it's because you can be both. You can be Canadian and Anglo, but I would never say I don't consider myself Anglo because that's just what I am.
He is Israel first. I don't know. I think he views Israel as an ally because a lot of the Israelis are against Islam, and he has been particularly affected by Islam because he grew up in Luton. And so I think he sees them as natural allies. I don't think that means he's not for England. I don't think he wants England to be swamped by foreigners. But by the same token, he doesn't just want arbitrary deportations of everyone who's not English. So it's one of those things where there is, I think, a through line that can be cut here. But I think Steve has to accept that he's not going to get everything that he's asking for. Just the political reality of it, I think it's just not going to happen. However, a lot of things can happen. And I think that a more level-headed position is to approach this with all of this in mind. Because people, when they're interviewing Steve, act as if he's like the Prime Minister in waiting or something. Like they take it.
There's a difference between a tactic and a position. I was like, I got really like on the edge of my seat. Oh, okay, what is the position supposed to be? And then he says, oh, just approach it with all this stuff in mind. That's not a position. Remigration is a position. What's your position? You know, I've already suggested a possible alternate position, which is just the nation being focused on its own people. So that's a lot vaguer than remigration, but it is a position.
This position go, oh my God, you know, you can't ask for that. That's horrible. It's like, well, he's not about to become the Prime Minister tomorrow. In the same way that, you know, there's no point getting offended when Greta Thunberg or Zach Polanski demands X, Y, or Z. Like, it's not going to happen. So it's just a kind of fancy wish list for politics. And man, we could all make up fancy wish lists for politics. But what good does that do? If you're not actually going to get something done, then it means nothing, right? And if you taking too hard a line that will alienate people rather than bring them on board to your position is damaging your prospects of building a coalition large enough to be able to take power in this country, then what's the point of it? If anything,
yeah, of course there's truth to that. And Steve Laws needs to refine his debate tactics a little bit. Like I said multiple times already, for him to be like, well, we would deport Christopher Hitchens because he's Jewish. It's like, no, man, that's not going to work. Right. But there's a difference between like being able to articulate what you're trying to do and being wrong. Like he is correct in what he's trying to do. But he just needs to work on the delivery, as we all do.
To look like vanity. It starts to look like you are just saying the most extreme thing you can say in order to be able to mark yourself out as being important, different, and kind of special. Now, like I said, I'm actually very sympathetic.
And by the way, Mark Collette has been pushing the remigration thing for longer than Steve Laws has been around. And I also think Mark Collette probably would do a better job in that conversation, but he was like forced out for a reason.
Steve.
And also, like, I don't think Sargon has ever talked to Mark or Steve. Sargon has this kind of thing of like, right? You look at the comment section on that Steve Laws interview. It's like the people are, you know, it's going to be the Richard Spencer debate all over again. Like, you're going to lose. So Sargon doesn't talk to Mark Collette and he doesn't talk to Steve Laws because the audience is not going to be on his side. Isn't that interesting? Isn't it interesting how the plebs, the proletariat, the unwashed masses actually do support these crazy extreme ideas, and that comes across in the comment section when you actually have these conversations, whether it's Steve Laws talking to Andrew Gold or it's Sargon talking to Richard Spencer. the extreme ideas are actually quite popular with the plebs, it turns out.
Because I think that a lot of his critique is correct. He is right that the English own England collectively as their collective.
Mark says I'm sure maybe they've talked in private. It's like, I'm saying, I'm saying Sargon doesn't want to talk to these people because he will lose in the court of public opinion. Whereas for me, I don't have that problem because I agree with them. It's not about having people like you. It's not about just taking the popular position because it's popular. But if you're gonna start off by saying you're way too extreme, then it's worth noting that actually these ideas are pretty popular. At least if you look at the comment section, for whatever that's worth. Maybe in the election polls it would shake out a lot differently. It would. There's more to life than the YouTube comment section. But if Sargon talks to these guys and he tries to tell them that they're too extreme or this and that, and the comments are all going to be roasting him.
Collective patrimony. And this is being taken away from us. I mean, it's entirely possible that at this point, as I record, England is only 65% English, which is obviously massively unacceptable. Because when I was born, England was north of 95% English. And when I grew up as a teenager, it was like still 80. Well north of 90%. And now, in the last 10 or 15 years,
London is like...
that has just plummeted off a cliff. This has to stop. I want my children to grow up in an England that resembled the one I grew up in. Steve wants the same, and I think Andrew would want the same.
So, what's the point of being like, oh, you're too weird, you're too extreme? It's like, okay, so you want to grow up in a 90% English. So we're just, all we're arguing over here is percentage points and how to get there.
Well, so it's not, I think there's any massive difference there. It's just that Steve is acting, or he's adopting positions that are just a bit too hard line.
I will say I somewhat agree in some way. I think Steve needs to refine his delivery and try to work on making it more palatable. Because when you say like, well, we're just going to deport mixed race families and we're going to send their, the white guy who banged the Caribbean chick, like he's going back to Jamaica too or whatever. I agree. It's hard because those people are going to ask you those questions because they're hard questions. But where I thought Steve did a good job of appealing to normies was when he was saying, well, look, we're going to start with the illegals, then we're going to do the criminals, then we're going to do the ones who ideologically are on the far end of the spectrum and hate us and so on. That's a lot more palatable when you put it that way than just you banged a black chick, so we're deporting you. So Carl's not totally wrong here, but it is a hard, right? The question of what do you do with mixed race people? That's a hard question. Where there's no good answers. There's because if you just say, well, we can't do anything about that, then everything else falls apart downstream from that. Then because you're basically saying, well, race and ethnicity doesn't matter because people can mix races. So now there is no English. You understand? So you have to have an answer to that question. And there's not going to be any answer to that question that is palatable to a normie who grew up in the most propagandized period in human history.
What is it that he's actually asking for? Right, what he's actually asking for, and this is a very reasonable thing, is demographic security. Now, in most other times and eras throughout history, a people with a nation state, a country, didn't really have to ask for demographic security. That was kind of given. That was the point in having a state of your own, is that this was the state for your people. There would probably be some small number of minorities, but this is a normal thing throughout all of human history that we have decided is not appropriate for the modern world. Well, I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with modernity. And so the issue of bringing it back to Israel, well, Israel is specifically designed to give the Jewish people demographic security and provide a government that acts in the interests of the demographic that the country is for. And it's not wrong that we should have the same for the English in England, especially given the state of the country as it is now. We actually do deserve this. We do have an obligation to pass this on to our children. And the fact that we have somehow forgotten this is not going to be forgiven easily by the generations that come after us. We should be aiming for demographic security. And I think that's something that Steve Laws, Andrew Gold, Tommy Robinson, even...
Yeah, so this is very similar to what I was saying, that the nation needs to care about the interests of its own people. Like I said, it's vague, and it's an easier sell because it's vague. Sooner or later, though, like... What's the rubber hits the road? Is that the expression? Right? That sooner or later, that has to actually mean something. And that's the part where it gets unpleasant. So basically, we're arguing for more euphemisms here, Steve. You got to Steve, buddy, just use more euphemisms. You can't give the whole plan away. We're just going to call it demographic security. And once people give us the go-ahead, then we send out the unmarked vans to do the midnight kidnappings.
Minorities in Britain can agree with, actually. Like when you, as a minority, your parents came here 20, 30, 40 years ago, whatever it was, did you expect the country to be run by the English? The answer is yes, right? You expected there to be English police, English politicians, English officials, English institutions, and to have those all replaced, well, are you sure that's better than where you came from? Are you sure this is a better alternative? Is the NHS running better now than it did back when your parents came here, right? There are all these sort of questions. I think even minorities would say, yeah, actually, I think it's probably better the English are running England and maintain the demographic majority in order so that we can have the advantageous culture of the English that we expected to be here. For example, we wanted fair play, the rule of law, what we call British values now. Well, these are all predicated on a certain kind of demographic homogeneity that almost everyone will agree with them because they just feel natural to the British, in particular the English. Well, if that's gone, you get people like Steve. And Steve comes off throughout this as quite nervous. And honestly, I'm not surprised because a lot of the conversations he'll have are about portraying him as a bad person for wanting this. But the thing is, he's not a bad person for wanting this. He's just afraid, and rightly so, because the evidence is all around us. There is something wrong that we have to arrest now, and if we don't, then it will be unrecoverable in the future. So he's not wrong to be afraid. We just need to have a more sensible and palatable way of approaching this, I think. And the issue is, as I said, the concern for demographic security. Now, this is a totally reasonable concern, but this doesn't mean that we have to get rid of every single non-English person from England. That's actually not that reasonable. And actually, it kind of looks quite tyrannical and barbaric. So the issue here to get a practical political result is to find a through line that actually achieves the job without making the country seem disgraced. Because I think that's what a lot of people are trying to avoid here. And that doesn't just alienate a bunch of people who are otherwise on our side, basically, on the side of the English when it comes to this. I'm sure Andrew Gold would rather live in a majority English country, but I also think he doesn't want to be kicked out, which, fair enough. And so I think the issue is that we just highlight and stipulate certain communities who just ought not to be here. Like the Boris wave, none of them should be here. They can all just, they've been here less than 5 years, and they came here because Boris wanted the Financial Times to speak well of him. They can just have their visas revoked. No, go home. You're just going home. Just, send them home. Another great way of incentivizing millions to go home is just stop paying foreigners benefits. Stop giving them access to the NHS, stop giving them social housing, stop giving them free money, stop giving them advantages in the workplaces, and they'll just go home. They're only here because of these advantages. And these sort of non-invasive
$6 on Rumble.
ways of...
Sargon is a Michelin Jew. That's why Sargon is against getting rid of them all.
I don't know. Michelin Jew, Octoroon. Who knows? We need to see the 23andMe.
Removing those populations who shouldn't have been here to begin with are a great start. And this changes the demographic out.
I really think that countries should have two-tier systems for like citizens. Like you have the people who are the ethnic members of the nation, and then you have people who are basically here on like a guest pass, maybe some people on a longer one or whatever, but they have like different rights and privileges. That seems like it's going to be a necessity going forward eventually because of this problem where other people come to try to take advantage of just the benefits that are for the locals.
For inflow to an outflow. And this, if you want to stop Steve Laws, this is the way to do it, is actually solve the problem. So the British, in particular the English, don't feel that they have a loss of control over their own nation. So they feel that they have that demographic security. And we should have that. We deserve it. This is our country. It belongs to us. So I'm sorry if that means that a bunch of people who shouldn't be here go home. But that's happened to us before. I mean, that's what the Indians did upon decolonization within living memory. I mean, people like Joanna Lumley were born in India, and yet they were like, oh no, she's British, out. And you got the same in North Africa with the French, etc., etc. These things happen, and they have happened in living memory.
Right.
And they're done because people know to whom to which group they belong. And I think the time is coming that something like that will happen. But I also don't think that we should just be like, right, every non-white face out, right? I think that's too extreme. I don't think the British public will agree with it. And we might only get one shot at actually getting this kind of remigratory result. And having it approached from the most extreme position you can take, I think is far less persuasive.
Okay. So overall, it's actually pretty reasonable. I get what he's saying, and it's like, it's cool. Like we're all on the same team here. My only like kind of problem or criticism is that, as I already said, he's essentially just arguing for the use of euphemisms and that because his things that he is suggesting are not quite good enough. Like you can't just cut off benefits for people who don't have citizenship. Well, he said foreigners, and foreigners is a messy term because that implies all the people Steve is talking about, right? So like, does Andrew Gold, is he a foreigner, and does he lose his NHS benefits? You know what I mean? Sargon's basically just like, well, I'm not going to talk about the messy stuff because that turns people off. But like I said, eventually the rubber has to hit the road if you want to fix the problems. So I do think, though, maybe there's not a middle ground between the two exactly, but maybe Steve could try to work on his delivery a bit to make it more palatable. And maybe Sargon could accept that some of the things that are going to happen are going to make people uncomfortable, basically. All right. I'm going to end it there. I'm really tired. Just maybe the cold or whatever that I have. So we'll do the Jake Lang thing on Thursday if there's not better stuff to talk about. But massive support today. Appreciate that. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And I will catch you on the flip side. Peace out.